indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Kramer.
Present.
Commissioner O'Rourke.
Present.
Commissioner Rexroth.
Present.
Commissioner Wessel.
Here.
Commissioner Ross.
Here.
Commissioner Alguier.
Here.
Commissioner Lautner.
Present.
Thank you. But we have a number of agenda adjustments, and the clerk is going to keep us organized here. Michelle, would you?
We want to do approval of board minutes first, I believe.
Yeah, we probably should. We have a bunch of them. Thank you. We have seven sections there, 7 sets of minutes. Any motions there? Commissioner Lautner.
Yes, I would move to approve minutes of regular session Tuesday, December 12th, 2023. Committee of the whole Wednesday, January 3rd, 2024. Special session Wednesday, January 31, 2024. Special session Thursday, February 8th, 2024. Committee of the whole Thursday, February 8th, 2024. Closed session Thursday, February 8th, 2024. And the executive session of Tuesday, February 13th, 2024.
Support.
All those in support of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. 7 sets of minutes have been approved. Okay, now the agenda, and would the clerk walk through the changes for us, please?
Yes, can you hear me tonight? Oh,
Not great. Louder.
louder?
Just a little bit. Where's my- Non-voice.
Okay, non-voice. The first item on if you look at these green sheets here that you have, the first one, if you would like, would be to add to the agenda the BIS digital for this room. The demo equipment that you requested to do is not available. So what you see there, if you wish to add it, to discuss it or act on it, is the motion that was made prior to the withdrawal when you asked to move forward with potential testing of the equipment. If you wish to add that, that would go on as action item number 8. The next item on there is information technology. And if you write on these green sheets, it will maybe be easier for you to follow later on. Information technology safety net, that is listed as consent item number 2, but that does need to be moved forward to action because it was just a move forward to tonight's meeting. And I have listed a suggested motion based on your discussion and everything at last Tuesday's meeting. That would be action item number 9. If you turn to the next page, action item, or it's consent item number 3 needs to be moved to action item, and that's the Parks and Rec sole source contract request. As that was just to move it forward to tonight. That would be action item number 10. The next 2 items would be to take consent item C and add acceptance of awards, which would make the Grand Traverse Band 2% grant allocation awards 5C, and then move the original consent 6C to action item 5D, which would then be the grant allocation agreement. You need to accept the awards before you enter into agreements.
We will, with those changes, we'll take other late additions or deletions.
So, you really don't have an action 6 or 7 then.
Well, it's, It's on the back side of the agenda of this one, the short one. Action item number 6 is the
Gotcha.
MOI
Yep,
administrative
thank you.
search. And 7 is a late addition to the South Bar Lake
Yep,
Drain.
yep, the two-sided agenda, all right. Okay, that's my two-sided.
Do we have approval of the agenda then? Motion
As amended?
as amended?
I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Support.
All those in support of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion approved 7-0. And if the clerk would help us keep on that with those changes. Thank you. Thank you. At this point, we have an administrator update, communications, proclamations, and presentations.
All right, so I have 3 items just to kind of update you on, but I also do want to mention, I apologize, BIS was taken off because they can't accommodate us, so I took that off the agenda, so it's just a formality, we put it back on, discussion, but just so that you know, that was a decision to move that forward. I've been asked to share with you, and I'll be sending an email in regards to the last Maple City dedication for Emma and Jacob, who are the family that has received one of the Habitat for Humanity homes. And that dedication is going to be on Wednesday, March 6th. So if you can please mark your calendars for Wednesday, March 6th at 5 o'clock. That's at 8518 South Maple Street, Maple City, so Maple City Crossings. And the other date that I wanted to remind you of, I mentioned this last Tuesday, but in regards to the airport authority and the new mapping for zoning, that meeting and a joined meeting with Grand Traverse County and the airport is March 13th at 3 p.m. And I'll send out information on the location of that. It'll be at one of the hangars at the airport. So more information on that. And want to mention just briefly that the preliminary injunction for Beta was addressed today. We had our special counsel, I participated in that. The motion was denied. So more information to come on what that will mean and what Beta's next steps will be. So just to let you know that you also have an email in your inbox from our legal counsel addressing that issue as well and prepping for any next steps that there may be. So I think those were the 3 primary items that I just wanted to share with you this evening.
Any questions for the administrator? Okay. At this time, we do have a 3-minute public comment opportunity for anybody in the audience that would like to speak to us. Public comment could be on a topic of your choice. Please address your comments to the board and not to the audience and not to individual board members, but the entire board. Anybody like to speak tonight? Yes, sir. Yes. Okay.
I'm Harry Steffens, precinct delegate in Leelanau Township. A couple of years ago, I came in here and I asked you guys if you would be wise. Okay, and I came in here and I even read a prayer at one point in time. And let me just tell you what my point of view is. In the Bible, it says, fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Okay, now I would interpret that respect for the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So just the fact that you don't have an invocation and asking God's blessing and assistance tells me that you haven't begun wisdom. So down here at the bottom says action items, renewable energy and electrification infrastructure enhancement. That to me is, I'm telling you that from my point of view, that's the government trying to rope you into something that you are going to regret down the road. And I think since it's under action item, I guess there's probably not much you can do to change your mind. But I'm telling you, is not wise. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Patty Lesh from Northport. And as Harry mentioned, it's been brought to my attention that the Board of Commissioners have received the information about a grant. It's a C grant from Michigan Public Services Commission. And we all know that grants come with other stipulations and promises that we have to make and mandates that we have to abide by. And from what I understand is that some of the obligations that we may be looking at could be financial in nature. The public does not know this. We've not been informed. Also promising to convert to all electric vehicles, including all the sheriff fleet, mandatory flat screen televisions throughout the government building for monitoring purposes, mandatory change of heating, cooling to all electric, things like that. Things that the public needs to know, that this is what is inside of this grant that you are proposing to vote on at this time. We're your boss. And so as an employer of you, I'm asking that you would reconsider this, slow down, and as Harry said, there could be a lot of repercussions if we're not taking a really close look at this. Personally, I would rather see our money better spent by raising commissioner salaries in order to get younger, more interested commissioners on this board. We have, I mean, look at us. Look at the commissioners. They're speaking from a generation that's not even, that doesn't pertain to them. And we've got young people who are passionately against some of these things, but they have families to feed and jobs to take care of, and kids to take care of. And so it would have to be worth their while to give up their job that's being paid a livable income in order to do something like this, which is more valuable than doing what we're doing here, what you're doing here in terms of this electric stuff and electric vehicles that they don't even have a plan for disposal.
Yes, Jim.
Jim Coberstead, Lake Leelanau. I would like to ask right up front for an extension. I know that's the last thing you want to hear from me at the moment, but what I'd like to show you pertains directly to the security cyber national alert that was issued a few weeks ago. And I showed you that last week in the video, the last part of it. It came out in person, but in reviewing the video of it, it was really hacked up. You really can't hear the audio through the last third of that presentation. But what I want to show you pertains directly to it. And it also involves an action item that you're going to be taking under consideration tonight that's been moved now. Well, it actually has been moved, I heard now, to an action item. So it's pertaining to that too. So I'm looking for an extension, total thing. I won't even talk at the end of it, no comment. It's 5 minutes and 45 seconds. It'll be play and done, and you don't have to, and I'll leave.
Jim, I'm not going to allow that because we did give you an hour last week.
No, I understand that, but it was mentioned that.
But I would invite you to send the link to all of us and we can follow up on that later, but you have your 3 minutes.
I have not seen it, so I don't know. Supposedly, the Department of Homeland Security is CISA has installed what are called Albert sensors at lots of places to monitor. They're called Albert sensors. So supposedly DHS has got access to traffic in and out of the networks that might be connected to our voting and voter registration systems. But I haven't heard a peep out of DHS about it. So either they don't have the data or they're not willing to tell us about the data. I don't know what we have them for if they're not going to serve us, other than I guess to tell us how secure everything is.
But Mike Lindell says that it was all given to him. So why doesn't he give it to us?
I can't speak to that. That'd be something you ask Mike. But the Albert sensors is actually a really good point that you brought up. And I don't know if anyone understands what Albert sensors are, but DHS apparently, from what we've read, put these sensors in each voting center across the country, or many voting centers across the country. And their purpose was to actually capture packets on the networks. Now, they only put one sensor on, so I don't know if they're only capturing it from one point or more than one point, but yeah, where is that data? I would really like to know. If our federal government put sensors in to monitor packets on our elections, why aren't they giving those to us? Where are they? I'm very curious about that. The other thing that kind of worries me is that they're putting these Albert sensors in to all these places. How do they know those things don't have vulnerabilities? Because how easy would that be to say, all right, we need to put these Albert sensors in to monitor everything, and someone know of some type of an exploit in the Albert sensor and get in through that. You know, you guys all heard about the SolarWinds hack, right? Do you guys know what SolarWinds is? SolarWinds is an IT security company. They give software to IT people to secure networks. The hack came in through their own product.
I got that.
So the very product that these companies purchase to secure their networks is exactly the.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Yes, Pete.
Pete Badoon, Leelanau Township. I'm going to play the rest of that.
Product that was used to hack into their networks. That is absolutely frightening. And I'm not saying SolarWinds was in on it, but all they had to do was make one mistake, and that could happen, and it did. So these Albert sensors could be exactly the same thing. There may be something accidental on them that allows this. So those really, if they're being inserted into our voting systems, are they part of the certification as well? Have the Albert sensors been certified? I highly doubt it, but I would love someone to prove that they have, and I'd love someone to prove they actually exist and they work. And I would like to see those packets that our federal government apparently captured in those jurisdictions.
Nobody's talking about it from the government. I don't know how hard Mr. Barr looked, but it couldn't have been very hard if he didn't find fraud. And the other thing I want to say is people are going to try to sell you and elected officials on newer computers, right? We're getting a newer, better computer, and this is going to fix it.
It's even more secure than the securest.
Yeah, it's secure.
Right.
So my watch has more computing power than we went to the moon with. Right? The Apollo capsules did not have this much computing power. You could do a lot with just a very little bit of code. We don't know what they're doing, but it's not trying to be secure. If you were trying to be secure, you'd have a lot less computing power. You'd have a lot less software, and you'd be able to look at all of it for yourself. But that's not what's happening. And they're going to try to sell us on newer computers, on mobile and remote voting. Nobody's got a secure phone. They had to take their phone away from the president because his phone wasn't secure. If they can't secure his phone, they're not going to secure your phone. And if your phone's not secure, no vote on your phone is secure. And I don't care what they tell you about blockchain or anything else. Everybody is not an IT professionals, and most of the IT professionals are not good enough to even detect, let alone stop or do something about a nation state level threat. And again, if our elections are not at risk from a nation state level threat, what is? It's the most lucrative, desirable target in the world. It is the fate of nations. That's our elections. We know they're a target. Our own government said they're a target. And yet our own government is still telling us these systems are secure, and they are not. They cannot be. And if I'm lying, prove it. Take your voting systems and your election registration systems. Tell them, you're telling me it's secure? Take it out to DEF CON and hand it over to the hackers in Las Vegas. Give them 10 minutes and see if your system isn't playing, you know, an Atari video game when you come back.
Thank you, Ken.
Keith Ashley, Leland Township. I thought we were over the election business, but I guess we're not. A couple of years ago, Michelle Crocker, the clerk, put on a presentation for this board, took, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes, something like that, explaining the election process, which was very thorough. And I thought very convincing that the elections that you folks are responsible for are well handled by our clerk and the townships and so on and so forth. I would suggest it won't change perhaps some minds. 60 court cases and audits by Republican senates and so on haven't convinced anybody or haven't convinced enough people that the elections were basically foolproof and well handled. But I'd suggest having the clerk put on that presentation once again at one of these meetings to let the doubters understand that the elections in this county are well handled and they have nothing to worry about.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Yes, go. Everybody take one.
Bill Wiesner, Elmwood Township. And if that wasn't enough to be concerned about, that tape that was just played, I don't know what was or is, will never be secure. This will never be over until there's one person, one ballot, one vote, one day. Michelle, smart, I'm speaking of her, smart as she is and talented as she is at this job, it's a black box voting machine. You don't see what's happening inside them. And Dr. Frank, who's been in 46 or 48 states, he's home 3 days a week. He's all over the place talking about this. Every place he goes, he's able to hack in to the voting system where he goes. No, this is not secure. And if you look at the back cover of this, this is a repeat. It says from Captain Keschel, election fraud methods. There's 50 of them mentioned there. Okay, turn it over to the front. The alternative view, Linda Rates from Missouri, she's already done a successful election with no problems. Everything's secure. 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats watching everything, not like a black box machine that no one knows about. And Dr. Frank can break into any of the systems. Just look at these pictures if you could. That's Linda Rates. She's a hero. The e-manual in the middle picture there. And by the way, if you go to frankspeech.com and type in Linda Rates, you'll find this. It's 20 minutes long. Everybody should watch it. It's like a breath of fresh air. We have no worries. We have this system, and this will never be over unless we get rid of these machines. The e-manual is 60 pages that came from the rules in Missouri. It was already on the book. She just went back to the 70s and 80s. How'd you do it? Oh yeah, we could do that. And the third picture there is successfully in 10 months ago in April of 2023, they had an election in this little county. And 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans watching everything. Took 5 hours, no mistakes. Common myths on the second page: costs too much, less accurate, takes too long, not enough people, only works for small counties. All wrong. The findings are the opposite. Saves time, saves money. There's a little overlay there. It's hard to read through, but same day results, transparency and security, a breath of fresh air. Huh? Black box machine or transparency and security. Works in counties of any size. I'll finish this at the end of the 5-minute part. Thank you.
Thank you. Third public comment. Yes. Welcome.
Peter Wolcott, Leelanau Township. I'm a board member of Leelanau Energy and on the Energy Task Force. I just want to repeat what I said on Tuesday, that within the national, state, and county, I hope, policy context, this is an excellent proposal which has no hidden elements in it and will actually save money for the county, and I hope that you will approve the grant application. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, Renee.
Good evening. Renee Weiler, Lake Leelanau. I'm concerned about the fiber optic project that we haven't paid for yet. Was it 1.8 million? No one's really told us what's going on with that. And now we're going to be approving this grant. And the way I understand the grant is we got to put up the money first. Is it like $1 million that we have to put up? How much? Do we know? How much?
1.5.
1.5 million? Okay, so we haven't paid the 1.8 million for the fiber optic, but we're going to be paying 1.5, fronting that out. And we don't, this is government that we get reimbursed with those funds, right? So where are we coming up with the 1.5 million to front the cost on this?
These are public comments, so you can.
Okay, all right. Well, that's the question I have. I also sent you all the problems they've had with the Flash Arc. Did any of you open up that link to see what the Flash Arc is? A concern with the wind farms? Did anybody look at that? Probably not. There's also in Huron County, there are all kinds of lawsuits from neighbors. And so we don't want to be doing this to our neighbors until we know what's going on. Lois Bailey said something really awesome, that she has these systems in her home. And I want that. I want that. I have solar lights that are motion activated all over my house, and I like that. I want green energy, but I don't want the sheriff to have to worry about his EV vehicle breaking down. I went to Cincinnati a couple weeks ago and I took pictures of 2 Teslas on tow trucks. So before we put up 1.5 million, can we find out where that money is coming from, what this is going to entail? Because we don't have any details. We just have, okay, we're gonna go do this. It's an action item. And we have to deal with the fiber optic. We still don't know about that. We still don't know about the IT invoices from last year coming into December and what's going on with that. And we don't know about the lawsuit with the tax forfeitures. So come on, guys, help us out here. Help us understand.
Other public comment? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Phil Dutton. I am a Northport resident. I'm not that familiar with the details of the solar project that's being proposed, and that is coming up in front of the board. But I wanted to express my strong support for it. I've been working in the renewable energy industry for 44 years now in wind, solar, and hydro. And it started from a motivation during the oil embargo. I've been fighting for renewable energy for that many years and working professionally to make it happen. It's only recently that it's become a bit of a vindication for me because it's now cheaper than the alternative, so to speak. And I've seen too many public policies driven by our insatiable fight for resources that don't exist in our neighborhoods, including wars that are conducted overseas for the sole purpose of taking the oil. I'm so glad that coincidence has landed us in a place where solar and wind and hydro are now cheaper. Thank God for that, because if it wasn't, we'd still be fighting wars. It's safe, it's effective, it's cheaper, it's renewable, it's green, and it solves a lot of the problems that we've been having for a long time. So I just wanted to express my support and appreciation. And I've seen many carports. I work for a consulting firm, but I've seen many carports successfully installed and operated, and they're very unobtrusive, very effective, and very energy efficient. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dutton. Other public comment? Yes.
Good evening. At the meeting last Tuesday, Steve Mikowski, like you know, we had this document was shared, but it was not part of the packet for anybody to see beforehand. So I've searched through this packet trying to understand all the costs that may be associated with this installation. And this document has 13 pages. I can't find a page with all the total costs involved, whoever's money it is, as what it will cost to install this here. So I'm trying to see, I'm asking more about this, but I can't find any dollar value associated with the installation of these solar panels on this campus property. As regards to county commissioners approving it, it's very easy for you to approve it. It's no skin off your back. You'll be gone in 2 to 4 years. Let somebody else deal with it, whatever the problems may be. Don't think about it very hard because you won't be around. So it's disparaging us a little bit to understand that these short-term thinking decisions are made on our behalf, but we have to suffer with the long-term benefits of whatever they are. Unless electors of the county will lawfully petition for it, commissioners must not proceed with plastering all the land on this campus around these buildings with thousands of tons of glass with very little redeeming value. Grants have agendas. Grants do have agendas, but I'm anxious to see what the total cost will be to install all this stuff on this campus. Brownfield development, there was a hearing here about 4 or 5 months ago, and we asked about 5, 6 questions, and then we were advised that the commission would respond to those questions and give us an answer. We are still awaiting those answers, or maybe we misunderstood, but we were told that our questions would have some answers to us. And later on, at the end of the meeting, we'll talk about the May 11th, 2021 situation with the title, "You Can Find Your Innocence by Hating Others." Thank you.
Mr. Knight?
Very fortunate. John Hunter, Bingham Township, District 2, again advocating for renewable energy. Updated facts and figures for my solar array that went on in 2019 until 4 p.m. today. In total, I have not added 48,940 pounds of carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. I have not added 1,300 pounds of sulfur dioxide to the atmosphere. I did not need 16,100 pounds of coal to be mined. Now, you do that math times 50 people in this room and watch it grow exponentially as you count the rest of the county and on and on. I have not yet heard a single valid reason why the Board of Commissioners will not apply and accept the grant from the MPSC. And some of the reasons I have heard, I just leave my head scratching. You get what you pay for. You spend $1.28 for solar lights. Don't complain when they quit working. My solar deck lights have been on, working flawlessly for 4 years. I only turn them off when the mayflies are out. That solar panels are not recyclable. Well, according to the EPA, glass composes 75% of the weight, and glass recycling is well-established industry. Other materials include aluminum frame, copper wire, plastic junction boxes, and are easy peasy to recycle. If worse comes to worse, I'd rather have a solar panel in a landfill instead of getting within a mile of a highly radioactive nuclear waste dry cast or wet pool. There's no sense for solar power because until China does something. Well, China is the largest producer of solar energy in the world. The United States comes in a dismal and distant second. It's a perfect time for us all to get together, join together, spank China, and become number one again, actually. The next issue is difficult for me and maybe delicate. And I mean no disrespect to anybody. But I've visited many Civil War battlefields, monuments, and cemeteries. I've driven along the Trail of Tears, visited Wounded Knee, and I've walked many Western battle sites and those cemeteries. I've been to Washington, D.C. frequently, walked Arlington, been to all the memorials several times. I remember when Mayo Lin designed the Vietnam Memorial and the controversy surrounding it. Some people did not like it that the walls were black and it was somewhat buried below grade. I've made many chalk etchings there. And I would not view solar array as disrespectful to any living veteran, and certainly not to those who gave their all. Governor Whitmer signed bills to transition to Michigan clean energy by 2040. And by that time, many of us here today, well, we'll be elsewhere or in some other form, one way or another. But I hope that the objections floating around are not just simply political theater. I'm fortunate, I know that. I pay my property taxes, federal taxes, and Michigan taxes on time. And yes, and food services I don't maybe need. And if I'm due a refund, it's paid in a timely manner. These taxes support other communities and people I may never visit, but eventually they raise the standard of living for all. This is just one characteristic that I use to define the word patriotism, freely given without expectation. Public service is the middle name. That's what they do. Please accept this grant.
Any other public comment? Am I missing somebody? Thank you very much for your public comments tonight. We will have another opportunity at the end of the meeting. Any commissioner comments? Yes, Mr. Kramer.
Completely superfluous. I don't know if you all know this. I am from BOC, Michigan, and which is predominantly red. And I have been observing all of you every night and all of us. And I just heard a thing today on a book I was reading, and I think it's really relevant to all of you. Speaking of wisdom, it was a native saying that said holding two opposite ideas at the same time is wisdom. And as we get further and further down the road with all of our ideas, we have all really a room full of passionate people, and I'm really, really honored to be here with all of you. But I want you to remember that there are 8 billion people on this planet, over 8 billion, right? So none of us in here, not a single one of us have all the answers. And someone has a different perception than you. then we need to honor those perceptions. And I would really challenge all of us, especially here behind this desk, and for all of you too, because these are our neighbors. And yep, this side, for the most part, you're all gonna be solar energy. This side, for the most part, not so much, and you're really concerned about voting. I challenge you all to see our concerns as opposed to just negating them. That's all I'm really looking for, because I really would like to sit in that position. I'm having a hard time with this dissonance that I'm constantly seeing. So let's just honor our neighbors and try to move forward with some dignity and respect. That's all I'm asking. I'm gonna thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Commissioner Brenner. Other commissioner comment? Well, I have an announcement. The announcement was I came to vote today. It was so easy. And thank you to our clerk and our clerk's office staff for making that available to us. Thank you. We are now down to our consent agenda items. We have taken 3 of those off of there. But I'm looking for a motion to approve the others, or somebody want to take anything off? Yes. Commissioner O'Gara.
I would move that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve the consent agenda as amended.
Support. All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 7-0. Thank you. We are now down to our first action item. It is our Energy Futures Task Force. We have 3 commissioners sitting behind the desk here that are on that task force. And we have the chair of that task force, Joe DeFore, is coming forward. Thank you, Joe, for all your work. And Joe has, I'd like to kick this off. He's got a response to some of the things he's heard over the last week. And so we would invite him to do that. You all have a copy of that in front of you.
I apologize, Joe asked this at 6 o'clock if we could get it on PowerPoint, and unfortunately, we did not have anyone with the technology to be able to do that tonight. So I made copies.
I would remind us all that Joe also sent us a very large packet of information and the grant application. We all have 2, and that will be on our website as part of the meeting. Right? So, we'll make sure it is. It was, yeah. Joe.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you all again. We have a task before us tonight, but I thought it might make some sense before I begin. Some of the public comments earlier related to this project, and I think if it's appropriate, I can make some clarifications. Is that appropriate? Just speaking forward, but for the room in general. First of all, the comment was made that the public hasn't had much of a chance to know about the facts of this. This is the 3rd time I've been here, and I think we've had a fairly robust discussion. And I'm not entirely clear on what portion of the material I submit is ready for the public to pick up. I simply don't know that. But the discussions themselves, I think, as far as there's been a wide variety of questions, and I have made every effort to answer all those questions. So if folks have been in the audience, they've heard that. And I made very quick notes here. I may not be perfectly accurate. I think a comment was made about changing over the entire campus to electricity. That's not the case. The solar project that we are going to be discussing tonight would supply approximately 30% of the energy for each of the 2 main buildings on the campus. And actually, it's a hair less than that because the numbers don't come out perfectly. but far, far from making major changes to the entire system on the campus. Comment was made about electric vehicles. There are no electric vehicles being called for in this grant. I will share that the task force has a work group on electric vehicles, and we certainly have done some exploration. And in fact, also the statement was made something about converting the sheriff's department over to electric vehicles. I met early in this process with the sheriff, and he and I agreed that at this moment today, given the technologies, electric vehicles are not a fit for the sheriff's department. So there's no such thing like that in this grant. The word monitoring was used, and I'm not quite sure what the comment was directed at. The word monitoring does appear in our proposal, but the word monitoring is very, very specific. In the solar installations that we propose, there would be a hardwired link from the solar back to this building purely for the use of the public watching the production of the solar energy. Nothing more, nothing less. There's no internet, there's no stuff flying through the air. It's a hardwired link. And the motivation for it is transparency, because a part of our project has an intention to educate folks. And so for better or worse, everybody would get to see the production on a day-to-day basis of the solar structures that we're proposing. The word obligations was used, and well, first of all, I guess the simplest way to say it, because most of us think of money first, is as we've written the budget for this solar project, the county has zero financial obligation. If we're lucky enough to get the award, 100% of this project would be paid by the budget we're submitting. And I would include we have included a component for the administrator, the treasurer, and the finance departments, and the facilities and maintenance department, because we fully recognize there will be some time allocation on their parts. So we have carefully submitted wage equivalents into the budget to even cover staffing positions in the county, so that, again, doesn't impact your balance sheet. What is the total cost? I've got a lot of numbers in front of me. Oh, let me first ask, Madam Administrator, did everybody get the slide packet as paper then, the audience as
No,
well?
not the audience. I did not have time to make it
Yeah.
for everyone, but
And-
it'll be posted. We'll have to post it.
Okay.
So it'll be up on.
Well, then my apologies to the audience, because I had created a PowerPoint with the intention, as we did at the last meeting, to put it up on the TV for everybody. That's entirely my fault. My only defense is that I was working on this up to about an hour ago, and I simply wasn't able to produce it. So I take responsibility for that. And I don't know how to help the audience with this.
We will make it available after, so you just.
Okay.
Can present it.
Okay. I did create, the PowerPoint is somewhat like the one that you folks saw the last time we presented, but with updated numbers. I think it's appropriate to begin, though. The project that we've spoken of in the past. Let me back up even one more step. The final deadline for submission of this project is 5 p.m. tomorrow. The project, as we've discussed it in the past, is polished, ready to go, and plus or minus 10 little words that were misspelled or typos in the packet you got at your last meeting. It is exactly what you saw before. However, folks have shared with me the discussions of concern and questions that occurred in particular at the Buildings and Grounds Committee last week, I believe it was. I'm losing track of days here. And certainly we've had other questions and concerns expressed in this room, some by you folks, our commissioners, and others by the audience. So the team that's been working on this grant, literally in the last 72 hours, has built a 50% different project proposal to deliver to you tonight. The reason we went through this trouble, and folks, this was a extraordinary effort by the team that's been working on it. I am only the spokesperson for a much larger team that puts all these numbers and data together. And these folks have been working 15 and more hours a day for the last 3 days to present this tonight.
Are you going to go over those changes right now?
In a moment, Commissioner. If you would turn to that packet, I think that's probably the best way to proceed. And this is the one I'm referring to. I don't know what else you might have gotten, but it was my intention to be the PowerPoint slides. So once again, it begins the way we began last week with just a simple reminder. This task force was created in September of last year. The mission approved by the task force and you folks was to identify opportunities and facilitate implementation of energy efficiency and renewable energy in the county. The way it was stapled, we have to go upside down for each page.
Sorry, I wasn't sure what page.
No, that's okay. I never know what's going to happen when I hit two-sided printing. The project goals remain the same. Nothing's changed here. To reduce county electric bills and to role model the practicality of benefits of solar energy in Michigan. That's a big one because a lot of people think that solar only works in Arizona, and it's simply not true. We wish we had 300 days of sun for this and many other reasons, but solar is still viable in Michigan. The third page is also a repeat, just again for context. It's an overview of the county property. Nothing new there. The fourth page has changed just a little bit. The last time I spoke before you, we had two very different project sites occurring on campus. I think I can make a general statement that the single most concerning, troublesome, and difficult site portion of our original project was the ground-mounted solar that was occurring across from the Veterans Memorial on the land that must be shared with Eagle for a future drain field. We've removed that. Hearing your concerns and the community's concerns, we've completely removed that portion of this project. If you flip, now I'm losing track of which page is this. If you switch to the next page, which I hope looks like this, let's just all make sure we're on the right page. It shows the law enforcement center. Yes. And solar over the parking lot for the law enforcement center. This is an array that the sheriff and I have spent a fair amount of time talking about. The last I heard, I still had his support for this. He was actually quite pleased in our conversations because this, at least for the purposes of our project, serves two purposes. First of all, it comes very close to making the goal for the solar to put against the meter on the jail building. There is a sweet spot for how much solar you can put against each of these meters. 2 meters, one for each of our 2 major buildings. The 2 buildings, the biggest single users in the entire county system. And that sweet spot's about 200 kilowatts of solar. This particular part of the project, if you were able to study it from the last time we sent the documents out to you, is unchanged. It's, I have to catch up in my paperwork here, 194 kilowatts. The goal was 200. The second achievement I think we've gotten out of this particular solution is historically the sheriff's vehicles, all of which are internal combustion engines, no electric cars, none anticipated in the future in this grant, have always been out in the elements. Because they're emergency response vehicles and because some of his personnel might be in the building, still on duty, perhaps filling out reports, doing research and so forth on calls, they need to be able to respond on a minute's notice. For that reason, inclement weather in Michigan is a real problem for the sheriff in terms of meeting our goal of a nearly instantaneous response. There's 2 ways to deal with it. They either go out and they scrape ice and snow off their cars, the interiors are cold, that has ramifications, or they leave their cars running in the worst of the weather. From an environmental point of view, that's not ideal either. So we feel very good about this portion of the project because it ticks off 2 boxes. We make the amount of energy for this, for the other building, the jail building, that was our goal from the beginning. And we also do a service to the sheriff's emergency responsibility. There's a nuance to this solution because again, we made an effort to work very carefully with the sheriff on this project. Typical solar over typical parking is set at a minimum of 10 feet vertically. We took the time together with the maintenance and facilities personnel to go out and carefully look at the sheriff's boats and carefully consider what kinds of purchases and so forth he might be making in the future. So this particular array is set at a minimum per the sheriff's request and agreement of 13 feet off the ground, absolute minimum everywhere around the parking lot. I think the drawing's otherwise pretty explainable. The yellow line indicates the big copper wire that has to connect the arrays. And where you see it entering the building is the exact spot where the major electrical facilities occur inside the building. We've made sure with this contractor, the cheapest way to do this is by trenching everywhere. Instead, we've expensed in directional boring so that we can go underneath the parking lots, do no damage to the surfaces, requiring no repairs to the surfaces. I'll flip, and if it's okay with, I think it might be easier for me to take questions at the end, but if you feel the need, if I'm not being clear on at a particular moment, jump in, please. Let's go to the next drawing. This drawing is entirely new. it should look like this. It is another drawing of the jail building. I'm going to help the audience here. It's another drawing of the jail building. There will be no more drawings of the field across the Veterans Center. It does not exist in this project. This is the substitution for that. There's a large parking lot. The visitors parking lot is what I've called it, right immediately in front of the front door of the jail building. You can see that what we're proposing is a lengthy linear parking covered array over the far side parking places of this parking lot. This array is set at the 10-foot standard height because that's cheaper and more cost effective. You can see again the yellow line that indicates the direct link. This particular array will be put against the meter in the administration building, this building. Once again, directional boring has been specified in this project so that we don't do damage to other structures and sidewalks, parking lots, etc. A reasonable person might ask at this moment, if we're going to do more solar over parking, why didn't we put it right in front of the administration building? That's a fair question, and we actually researched it pretty deeply. The problem is really twofold. There are lighting poles out there, and in order to build around the lighting poles to accommodate them would take custom engineering and far greater expenses to do so than the array where we now are at. The second concern was that because this is much more of a what's the phrase, generally publicly used lot, we thought that there was probably a much higher likelihood that RVs and other large vehicles might be moving through here. And if the array were immediately in front of the administration building, we once again would probably have to incur that extra height just to be sure that some innocent member of the public racing into a meeting like this in their RV or some other taller vehicle didn't clip one of our structures and do some damage. So for those two reasons, it's not much farther for that big electric wire to come over to the parking lot in front of the jail. And when you cost it all out and look at the pros and cons, we landed at the jail. And when I say we, I really have to credit the solar contractors here. The reason I asked, for instance, because this array is 172 kilowatts. Our goal was 200. And I asked, can we put more solar over the other part of that front parking lot? And they recommended strongly against it, even though they would make money in doing so, because they felt that for a building like this, we needed to accommodate service vehicles, larger equipment that might need to get in and work on building systems and so forth. It was their experience that it was simply wise to leave the area immediately in front of the building for those types of utility vehicles. Let's go to the next page, please. Project facts, these have changed just a little bit, in particular because the second half of the project now is a bit smaller. The project totals about 367 kilowatts. It still supplies something like 30% of the government solar. To be honest, that might be 29 or 28. I did not have the time to update that number. I didn't think that was the highest priority number. Once again, as we've said every single time since I've been in front of you, this grant will be 100%. This project will be 100% paid through the grant funding. Finally, a quick summary of the environmental benefits. Over 9.5 million pounds of coal will not be burned, and these are annual numbers. 9.5 million pounds of coal. Over 20,800 barrels of oil will be saved, and over 7,350 acres of forest. This would be the equivalent of planting 7,350 new acres of forest. I ended with the same sheet again. I do some public speaking, and I almost always end with this because it's a number that's just hard to comprehend. In the span of 1 hour, the Earth receives enough sunshine to meet the energy needs of the entire world for 1 year. This energy is free, it's infinite. 80% of the new generation in the United States last year was solar and wind for that very reason. It is simply no longer economical to make new electricity any other way. I've got lots of more facts and figures, but I think I should turn it over to you now.
That's good.
Yes, I would make a motion and then we can have further discussion. I would move that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve submission of the MPSC Renewable Energy and Electrification Infrastructure Enhancement and Development Grant,
Can we say version 2, please?
version 2, and authorize the board chair, Ty Wessel, to sign the grant application. Support.
Discussion. You want to start, Gwen?
Our county has an opportunity to save our tax dollars every single month. We can save $3,500 a month. That's not huge money, but in my books, that's real money. And it's worth doing. We also have this unprecedented opportunity to do this with a grant. The FPSC is offering a grant to implement this. There will be no cost to us. And it will benefit the county for the next 35, 40 years. This is a grant. I want to thank the Energy Task Force members who have worked. They had 2 months to put this together. They have worked really, really hard. And I believe from dawn till midnight the last few days, because I was texting Joe, I was emailing Joe at 10:30 at night, and he was saying, I'm still working on this one. I appreciate your efforts on behalf of the people of this county. This is a grant application. We still have time to discuss this. If we do not get the application in, that's it. So we're opening a door. There are times for corrections if needed. I'm strongly in favor of moving our county, saving us all money and moving us forward.
Thank you, Commissioner Kramer.
First of all, Joe, you did a lot of work in. But to be able to change it, hear our concerns, come back to us with a better proposal that, you know, crosses the T's, dots the I's, and I think of pieces, you know, maybe not everyone, but a little bit more than the initial plan, I think has been fabulous. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Second, I do want to address, I know what you're laughing back there about tax dollars, right? Grants. You're concerned that the grants are our tax dollars, and I hear you. I hear you on that. The thing is if these grant dollars aren't used by our community, they're gonna roll over to the next community. There's no stopgap for us. So if we can choose to utilize this and take part in this grant application, or Grand Rapids will, or Holland will, or pick a county, pick a place, because that's where the money will go. So if we utilize it, we get it here. And then that tax savings will still exist, right? Because we're gonna save the county over $1 million. So that will still exist for all of us, right? So that's fiscally, I think, a responsible thing to do overall. If you don't like the grant cycle, then you gotta go up a step and go talk to, Grant Home or whoever else. But not here. We need that money. And if we can utilize it, I think it's best for all of us. Second thing is I know you guys were concerned about agendas, right? Like, if grant, I think I heard, has an agenda. So I'm gonna clarify with Joe a couple of things, just so we can see what this agenda entails, perhaps. Okay, so does the grant, and I'm looking for perfectly honest answer, does it dictate who we can utilize for solar? Or do we have a choice, like of contractors and where we get the solar? Do we have a choice? Do we have that choice? Or does the grant dictate who we can choose?
We have that choice.
We have
In
that.
fact, we have already, we wrote an RFP immediately in this 8-week process, well before Christmas. Put out a competitive grant, got 3 responses initially, refined the project concept, put it out again as a competitive grant. The grant itself requires 3 quotes. We did that twice.
Next question. Does it dictate which panels we use?
The contractor chooses the panels.
Okay.
Not you and I.
But again, we can choose them as well, right? So
Yes.
the idea and maybe the fear behind it is that there's some sort of other agenda happening. And I just want to clarify for everyone that this isn't open, we have the freedom of choice.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to clear up those things, but thank you again.
Well, and may I just tag on that?
Yeah, sure.
The contractor that we're working with has done over 1,000 projects. Not most, but many are well bigger than this project. And they pride themselves on using American-made materials as much as possible. Commissioner Lautner asked me at the last meeting, the origin of these panels. These panels are Canadian.
I know this from, actually, we tried to make solar out Puerto Rico after the hurricane. And so we did a lot of research on solar. And I know that there are certain fundamentals, obviously, that you can't get from the States, and there are certain restrictions, but I think you're headed in the right direction. And I know that there's a lot of manufacturing that takes place in the United States as well. So, but again, thank you. Appreciate all the time and effort you put into this.
So I have a couple questions. We skipped over one of the slides that was related to
Oh.
project financing.
Did I? Sorry.
And
Okay.
you had stated and it says that 100% of the project costs are there's always some cost to us. There's never zero, but that's just the way it works. I'll read that.
We've done our best to capture them all.
My bigger question is, if I read this, it says 100% of the project costs are the renewable energy grant. I'm shortening for clarity. Estimated project cost 1.5 million all inclusive. Grant request 1.2 million.
Correct.
So how does 1.2 million pay for all the costs of 1.5?
I'm glad you asked that. And I'm sorry I missed this page, and I'm glad you asked it because I would have wanted to expand on that anyway. This especially without visuals. These are big numbers with lots of zeros and so forth. So let me give you an example of what actually happens in the financial movement for this project. The contractor's cost is, well, I'll get it exactly here for you. $1,479,473. This is predominantly a solar energy project, other than the few other small items I mentioned, salaries and so forth for staffing and such like. The US government has something called the investment tax credit. It's available to every individual, every household, every business, every nonprofit, and every government. For solar projects, 30% of the components get a tax credit back. It's typically a tax credit if you are somebody who pays taxes. County government doesn't pay taxes. So the way it works is it comes back to us as a check, literally a check from the feds to the county. In addition to that, the northern half of the Lower Peninsula and most of the Upper Peninsula are in a region called energy communities. And if you're in one of these energy communities, you get an additional 10% credit against your project. So, well, let me give you the actual number first, and then maybe we can work with some simpler ones. I can find it where I put it.
I think you're.
Well,
Of the reason the state is 1.2 is the other 300,000 will come.
And you know, maybe for everybody's benefit, if we, rather than really complex numbers, hoping to include everybody in this so nobody feels like we're trying to pull something over on them. If the solar for this project cost $1 million even, if that were the case, it's more. 40% tax credit makes that $600,000, right? Minus 40%. The grant is written for the 600,000. We, at the end of the year, among all the other papers the finance folks and the treasurer folks do at the end of the year, when we reconcile our books with the feds, put in for the 40% tax credit that we 100% know we are eligible for. Because we don't pay taxes, they actually write a check. In the example, that's a $400,000 check. The contractor gets their $1 million, right? They have to be paid the amount they quoted. That's our obligation to them. The grant gets written for 600,000. We get 400,000 back and we have zero in. That's the simplest way I've found to try to explain this.
Other question, Doug? Yeah, I guess a couple. I was gonna follow up on that. Does this project's budget include any contingency factor for unforeseen factors?
It does.
Can you expand on that?
Right. The grant itself, understanding that there's quite a period between the application, which is tomorrow, and the announcement of awards, which is September. This isn't the first time they've done this sort of thing. They understand that material costs, labor costs, and things fluctuate. We're able to insert a 10% contingency on every single line item in the budget that covers those kinds of fluctuations.
So just to follow up, and first off, I apologize for not thanking you for giving me an effort to that whole thing to put this all together in a short time, to modify the plan. So a lot of work went on this. I appreciate that. The agenda thing, just to kind of address it, and it does give me some angst. I mean, I'm deeply conflicted on this project because I do believe solar has a place, and I do believe EVs have their place. Maybe not as fast as some people would like it, but I believe it's a part of our future. But when I look at the one thing that's troubling me is to see the sheriff rescind his support for this project, when he wasn't supported before, and I think,
I haven't seen that, sir.
yeah, it was, I didn't see it till, hour and 20 minutes ago myself. So,
Well,
Did you got an email?
Might I ask?
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, Commissioner Lautner sent me something presuming to speak for the sheriff, but I've not seen anything from the,
Email, and I thought he said he spoke with you.
oh, he didn't speak with me. It's possible that he sent an email. I've been incommunicado through the afternoon.
I think it would be important for Joe to read that and respond to it. He does have the sheriff's email.
Sure, okay, I'm fine with that.
Can I- just a moment?
If I follow up after that, I think where the kinks come from, so.
Okay, thank you. There's only a handful of small words that I think are not factual, but otherwise I understand the sheriff's. He certainly has a right to change his mind.
And we believe that there were EV mandates in there. which are-
Those were the words that I would clarify. It says including EV and other infrastructure mandates, and I don't know what that means. I can't think of how that applies.
I think I see where the confusion comes in, is some of the concerns on some of the people involved here. If I read through the actual grant application itself, which had time to fully get through. So if I go up, there's a section on page, let me get there, scroll it up, give me just a moment. Starts on page 9, and it says project objectives. And project is this project that we're applying for a grant for. So if I read down then into project objectives, in fact, there's a follow-up at the bottom part of the grant application that says the metrics will be how much have we met the project objectives. This is all as a part of the grant. So you get to some specific points where these concerns come from. I'm scrolling down now. Part of the project objectives, decarbonizing buildings and electrifying transportation. In addition to the plans, clean the electric grid pillar, part of the county's broader commitment to electrifying and decarbonizing its operations, and otherwise advancing sustainability. Going down, Energy Futures Task Force is providing Leelanau County leadership in developing plans and seeking funding for ongoing investments, reducing energy waste in our facilities, and eventually electrifying their space from water heat, and a transition to our 100% ICE vehicle fleet to EVs with sufficient on-site charge infrastructure. This is actually described as a project objective. Commitment to environmental justice is a project objective. And then as I scroll down, and some of the other things that these concerns come from are delineated in project objectives. And project metrics will include % completion of the project objectives.
Yes.
So it's confusing to us if these aren't required, why they're mentioned and why they would be part of the metrics of the project objectives, and what position would we be in then if we accept this grant and do not complete those objectives as outlined in our promise this grant.
Would you be kind enough to scroll up and tell me which major section? The sections are VC, VD, VE, VF. And what's the title for that?
Project objectives.
Project objectives. So if I recall correctly, I understand your concern about that wording. That section, as I recall, was a requirement by the grant to relate our project to the government's, the governor's Michigan Clean Energy Plan. And that section was intended to speak in a more broad way about other activities and objectives that are absolutely taking place within the task force, but are not a part of this grant application.
It seems odd, the wording project objectives, and I'm not a legal scholar, but I get worried when we sign a document that says you're gonna give us this money, and for this money, this is what we're gonna do. If we're not going to do it.
I think we could do two things. I'm comfortable. First of all, I didn't bring my laptop because I didn't think I'd need to scroll through the entire document.
Part of it is an explanation where these concerns are coming from, because
Yeah,
it's clear and
yeah.
plain reading of this. It looks like we're promising to do this.
Okay, so let me respond with a twofold answer. First of all, I'll remind you all that even if we're awarded this grant, you have a 45-day period to decide whether or not you want to accept the money, period. And it's a complete 100% out for you. We also have a 6-month period between tomorrow, the deadline, and when the awards will be made. For instance, somebody else brought up the lack of a legal review. Absolutely true. I would suggest, in fact, that there should be 2 legal reviews because there's really going to be 2 major contracts here. We'll have one contract with the MPSC, which we've known about, and the fine print's right in at the MPSC website. But this last 8 weeks included Christmas and New Year's and so forth, and I didn't think it was likely we were going to mobilize for that during that period. We have 6 months to take a leisurely review of that contract. And nobody yet has mentioned the fact that we should be reviewing the contract that we would have with the solar contractor. Now, I have no fear of that because they've done 1,000 projects. Nevertheless, it's the right due diligence and it's the right thing to do. So having said those 2 things, Commissioner, if you'd like to make a friendly amendment to the motion to delete that language, I'm perfectly comfortable with it because it is not a part of the core of what we're presenting you tonight.
It's the follow-up. It says 100% ICE as an acronym vehicle, linked to EVs.
Internal combustion engine.
So, okay.
Yes.
So, I would think that we could easily amend that. I mean, that's.
I guess my point was that I think to try and help understand why there's these concerns, because a plain reading of it says it is project objective, project metrics. So
Yeah,
that's,
so
yeah.
if we could change that percentage to reflect really.
If you will highlight, if you will highlight the language we're speaking of right now, so that I understand it in the context of this conversation, I would be happy if you want to put that as a friendly amendment, because it's not a part of this project. It may be a part of the vision of the task force that we were trying to articulate, but I have no fear in eliminating that language.
I believe that is a piece of the vision of our governor and our country right now, but this grant is about solar panels. We submit the grant. We will then do a legal review. We'll do a legal review if we receive it. We can verify all of that, but this grant is only dealing with solar panels. I believe that's a vision of the MPSC of these grants. But we're not committing anywhere in this program to be buying EVs.
None whatsoever. And if I'm sounding vague, it's only because there's about 50,000 words in that application. And I don't remember everyone and every sentence and paragraph, but I can tell you the sincere intent is to build a solar project, nothing more. And I'll say it publicly, we're being recorded. I have no objection whatsoever to removing that language if it seems to imply that it's part of this project. I'm happy to do it.
I think we could do that with the existing motion if I mean, you've heard the concern, and if you read that and it make it necessary to include it, that could be eliminated. If that, I don't think we need a separate amendment for that.
How about if I just added clarifying this grant, this approval solely concerns the solar project, the solar project.
I'm still not sure where I sit on this, so I'm not saying, okay, that gets.
I would be perfectly happy if you took a highlighter and showed me the objective language,
But I think the only way
and I'll delete it.
Get that objective done is to specifically say section such and such are removed. Because us making a motion of what we think it says doesn't change what it legally says.
Right. That's just the vision.
It's objective and complete is what it says.
Go ahead. Pick the offensive section. That's just fine.
I think it would be B and C.
And
I have to, I don't know, can I get some help with this from?
Thank you.
You had done a pretty deep dive. Can you help me?
Well,
You actually brought this to my attention, so
yeah, BC for sure.
Thanks. And I'm sorry, but what was the major section again? I have to catch up to you now.
Page 9.
Okay, page 9.
C talks about environmental justice.
Right, but if you tie that back, that ties back to a clean coal-fired plant in Indiana. So, which is a sliver of clean coal generation out of Indiana. So I think the environmental justice, it speaks to the people who live down there near that. We don't have the, we already have environmental justice in Leelanau County. So
also talking about just providing jobs, local good jobs for clean energy businesses. That's my take on that. Complete paragraph.
yeah, I don't think it's necessary at all. That's
if it doesn't have anything to do with solar panels. Why does it?
Talking about the jobs it's creating for the installation of the solar panels as a local company.
Which in the job says, I don't know this contractor that's already been awarded the grant, how many people he employs. Other than that, I see.
I think you could leave to me that part, starting with residents will benefit from the cost savings and other benefits.
Yeah, what page are you on, sir?
I'm still on.
Oh, 12 now.
So if you struck it prior to that last sentence, Commissioner Lautner, is that, I guess I don't see a problem with the last 4 or 5 sentences, C.
So it's
What extent? We just are not committing to EVs.
no, this is separate. Totally. This is environment. It's talking about the savings that we will incur as a county will be passed on to everybody equally because we'll have more tax dollars to pay for other things. So it's just saying that it's going to share that savings to all people that live in the county. So I think that's really important thing to say. And the first part, if you want to get rid of the justice tools, green tools.
Yeah, I guess that's my point. If I were going to try and parse this out now, and I'll Commissioner Long, we're trying to kind of out of order here. Chairman, are we okay to have this discussion in this manner at this point?
If everybody's comfortable, it's hard to write a document as a committee, but let's see if we can do it quickly.
We start with, however, there's a stark income inequality in this area. In fact, 46% of households are at Alice threshold. That's a fact. That's a fact that we've all been presented many, many times. So there's no reason for that.
I think
to not
I
be
heard the
included.
concern.
Yeah.
Was about promising something we didn't intend to deliver on.
Yeah.
And that concern is EVs. I think we need to leave it that. If this thing is talking about the benefits as a whole, that's not something we're committing to. But I'm willing to say we are, in this motion, we are not committing to purchasing.
Anything beyond the solar panel.
Yeah,
And
Everything in B.
this motion,
but that's a friendly
yes.
change in your motion. Do you have that?
No, I've got to get my copy back. I can't.
Before I give your, oh, okay, okay.
Any commitment
So I think we're
beyond
on
solar panels.
Page 12, so you're
But
understanding.
this
B.
motion is a grant. Would not extend to anything beyond solar panels.
I guess I just have to say that doesn't satisfy my concern. That it just says this is what we think we said, but the document says.
On the other hand, we've got 45 days and I don't think we need to edit.
I really don't mind editing tonight if we can do it clearly and in a, time efficient way.
Yeah, if there's not a consensus, we'll just stop. That's fine.
We would have to take.
Jamie had something and then Doug, let's see if we can bring closure to you. And then I bet Melinda has something she wants to say.
Right.
So I haven't been following along. I guess I just have questions. Is Doug's question about it's the grant itself, right? The actual grant, not
No, I think he's referring to our application, the language in our application.
okay, so not in the
No, this is language we insert into the application template.
okay, so that's
And
what we're concerned about.
yeah, and I believe this particular, for the moment that I had to look at it, I believe this section, the application was asking us to relate to the Michigan Healthy Climate Plan passed last year by the governor. And the intention of the section was to speak more broadly for some of the other interests and work of the task force. But if it, again, I have no problem eliminating it because in the literal sense, you're right, it does not apply to what we're asking for tonight. So
Okay,
I have no objection.
So what are you willing to take out?
Well, I'm waiting for the copy now.
So in B, we're just gonna pretty much reduce that to just saying that we're gonna advancing sustainability. I think we can all agree on trying to be more energy efficient, and I think that's what it was driving at. Joe just put some very specific numbers and goals in there, but maybe that's not necessary, right, Joe? Or
I think so. Again, easier for me to comment if I can see the exact language, so.
If you wanted to, there's
just take those out.
someone who works for the MDA, and they said, well, there's a lot of fluff. So I understand why this was written with a lot of fluff to try to get the grant. So this is a grant application that will go to the state. If you back up even further, so you start talking about the Michigan Healthy Climate Plan. It talks about the plan, and the plan is part of the application. The plan further states Leelanau County's proposed MPSC funded renewable energy grant project is more closely aligned with the clean electric, et cetera. I'm on 11. So, but there again, it talks about the plan's pillars related to decarbonizing buildings, Electrifying transportation, it says it there again, and testing Michigan soil water. And it talks about the clean grid. Yeah, and all of B, as we said on page 12, I had a real problem with that. Further, there was the us, it says we have to dedicate a place in our lobby for the flat screen television set. I objected to us being forced to dedicate a spot for that. It spoke about tours, having to allow tours on campus.
Did you have a science class in school, counselor or commissioners?
Excuse me, I'm not talking about science classes in schools.
We are. We're talking about working with schools
You're talking
and
about
other
bringing
groups for the
tours.
Purpose.
Tours to the campus to see.
Your
the
teacher
solar.
never took you out in the woods or anywhere?
We're talking about this grant right now. The grant spoke about us having to allow tours here of school children, correct?
How does that different from what I'm proposing?
Are they going to view the solar panels?
I would hope so.
I would hope so as well, except that now they're all proposed to be on and around and near the jail. One more thing that the sheriff objected to. We have other things in our proposals for our budget to actually put fencing and or gate up around his vehicles because he's concerned about the safety of his vehicle.
And he had expressed that concern to me long before the grant came along. It's been an interest of his to
So
fence
you
his lot in and have a gate.
We're asked to take out, I'm assuming you did not touch on a couple things you were asked to take out that were in here about Cherryland Electric, correct? You got that email and you took those out. I couldn't find them.
No, I'm going to correct you. I was not asked to take things out. I was asked to substitute some different language, and that's all been done, yes.
Okay, so you took out the main paragraph you were asked to take out.
I
correct?
substituted the language I was asked to substitute, which had about 4 words different, by the way. You're trying to paint this as if it's a
No, I'm trying to ask
major
you
rewrite.
then because
I need to,
No, excuse me,
I need to make sure there's order and respect.
thank
Commissioner
you,
Lopez.
thank you. Thank you, do you understand that? Good. So when you earlier stated that you made some changes, you did not cover that. So you took out the tens of thousands of dollars worth of, you took that out because I was looking for that in here and you also didn't cover it when you were going over this. But that's been changed. Do you have that?
That request came in yesterday, I think, and yes, it's been substituted. So are you now
No, I just wanted-
saying you're unhappy with the
I
substitution?
didn't say I was unhappy. I said I wanted to see it.
Well, you can see it in the package you
No, I
have.
didn't see it.
Oh, well,
Get it out. So I don't know. Maybe you can tell us which page that's on. In the new packet? Did I miss it? When you went through it?
In the grant application that was sent to all of us, and the language was changed. I did see the communication. from
Communication,
Rachel.
good. All right, so we have some other things we wanted to cover. And perhaps you can show us what is the name of the company, the solar panels that come out of Canada? What is
it's
the name?
called Canadian Solar. yeah.
Okay, so Canadian Solar is tied in with the Chinese. They're assembled in China.
Do you know that for sure?
Well,
I do not.
okay.
Do you know that?
Yep.
You do?
Well, I'm Googling it. Every
Well, you
article
Googled an interesting fact the other day that was blatantly false. So I'm just a little concerned. Would you like me to relate that for the audience? Are you curious?
Yeah, sure.
I don't think we need to go there.
Okay.
I think what we do is let's make sure we hear from everybody their concerns. We're not going to please everybody. At some point soon. we're-
I'm happy to do that, but I'm reluctant to let false facts be placed in the room.
Into Canadian Solar, because everything I found on Canadian Solar has Canadian Solar Chinese. So I just wanted to clarify something you said. So the contractor has already been contracted, correct?
No,
No.
we have not had a grant award. There's
Okay,
been no
you selected-
contract.
You said you did an RFP and you selected your contractor.
Through the
already.
competitive quoting process. We have a favored contractor, yes.
Earlier you said that the question was, would we choose? But we don't choose. We won't choose. We won't use our competitive bid process here. That's something that's already been done. So I just wanted to see. That's the way we understood. We won't choose. Is there a separate audit that has to be done? Does anyone know if there's a separate audit? That question came up. Separate from our audit or included in our audit?
Would assume that we do this like we audit all of our grants.
Okay.
The grant application asks for audits of the county because they're trusting us with a large sum of money. And we've provided that with the assistance of the finance office. I guess it would be a matter of your policy, whether there's some further audit required. It's not required by the grant.
Chargers. Now, but I think Doug started to ask a question earlier about the other unseen expenses. So the other things that, and I couldn't find it in here, and I don't know if it's something the contractor would do, but you said they set aside a certain amount of the project, 5 or 10%. Did I hear for overages? Is that
We are allowed to include 10% for contingencies for unforeseen events.
Okay, but that doesn't cover then the remediation of the solar field in the future. Who covers the remediation of solar field in the future?
You would own the solar field, so I guess that would be your concern. I would have a question though for you. Who covers the remediation of our cell towers, of your barn out back, of your various other infrastructure? It's really interesting to me that people come up with questions like this at these unique moments.
Mr. Chairman.
But it's not something that's generally applied
You
through
don't
our
know
practices.
that. You actually have no clue the questions we ask when it comes to those
I'm
things.
asking, please inform me.
We do ask those questions. That is what I am telling you, and that is our job.
And
So
do you
the
commonly have decommissioning plans?
solar field is very, very serious. And if that is going to be a cost of the county in the future, the county needs to know that. So I think you answered the question.
Well, I don't think I did. I don't know what you mean by a clause in the future.
I need to bring us back to respectful conversation.
Thank you.
Can we give you a break and?
No,
couple more
please, I've
people?
got
You've
more
had your
questions.
5 minutes.
Well-
I'd like to go to, we'll come back to you.
Well,
I'd like to go
Mr.
to-
Chairman, though, I haven't even had my 5 minutes. It's been interrupted.
I'd like to go to Commissioner Rourke. and then we'll
I've
come
just been listening here. I learned a lot by listening. We're gonna remove this part and change this and agree to that, and whatever we send in on the grant is what we have to live with. I just don't see how everybody can get this together, remove part A and B and this, make everybody happy without running it through legal by you getting in the mail tomorrow.
To clarify, if I may, it absolutely requires a legal review, no doubt about it. In fact, there are 2 contracts here, but you have 6 months to review. And I think the worst thing you could try to do would be rush a review through.
I agree. Tonight, then, we just can't get this done. I mean, everyone wants to take a little piece out of this and what we send in tomorrow. And what you're saying, okay, now we got it in and we're gonna review it now with legal and stuff.
Commissioner Rourke, I only heard one substantive request for removal, and that was make sure we're not asking for beyond the solar.
I like Gwen's thing of solar
I
only.
think we gotta do that.
But it's gotta be reviewed. before
Happy
we
to do
Send
that.
it in before tomorrow. It's gotta be reviewed by this board. You're gonna make a motion or send something in on this part's gonna be done or this, no, sir, it's not gonna happen.
Commissioner Locke, can we go to Commissioner Kramer and then come back to you?
I haven't said-
Oh, Commissioner Ross, let's go to you first.
Yes, I'd like just to remind everybody in this room that we have an opportunity to say no to this grant. this is just an application to submit our grant. If in September, if we get a letter that says we're awarded it, then we'll have how many days? I think 40, you said 45.
45.
And we have 6 months before that to work on all these details at our leisure, not at 9 o'clock when we have a full agenda yet to go. This is absolutely ridiculous in my point of view. We are not committing anything other than submitting an application to receive a grant to help us move forward in finances and environmental concerns and just doing the right thing. I want to call the question.
If Mr. Allen wants to, I promised her a statement.
Well, I just was simply saying that I did reach out to legal counsel and they did confirm that we would have time to review the grant application if approved. So I just to protect the county and everything, I did clarify that. So for what it's worth.
Can I call the question?
You may call the question. Is there a second?
Yeah, second.
All those in support of calling the question, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
I,
Motion fails. I don't think we've had, I think we need to make sure that everybody gets their chance to talk. Yes, Commissioner Kramer.
First of all, I just want to thank Melinda for being Melinda and doing Melinda things. She questions all of these things, and I think that's important, right? Like, we have questions, we should get answered, that's important. This is discourse. It's ugly. It doesn't feel good all the time. We're here, we're doing it. Second thing, Melinda, to talk about the tours. My daughter, who was in the Boy Scouts, because we live in a different world now, guys and girls can be in the Boy Scouts. We planted trees right over by the sheriff's department a number of years ago. So those things happen on this campus, and we should promote them because it's really important for kids to see how all of this functions together. And but I appreciate that too. I appreciate all of the questions. I think hard questions should come, but I think that this is an opportunity for all of us to save money. If we were to put a giant oil rig out front, you'd hear all of us liberals freaking out, just like you guys are freaking out right now. The thing is that we can all come together, I think, on the fact that we could save $1 million. So that's where I'm at.
Would everybody agree to let Commissioner Lautner speak one more time and then let's vote?
Sure.
so, yes, thank you, Jamie, for being Jamie.
Hey, I do my best.
Down here. So I think it's going, I am absolutely opposed to sending something forward. It reminds me of, well, we have to pass it before we can read it. And I'm very, very concerned about the possibility of these things that are just seem to be written in stone in an application to go for money. I did have at least 3 people tell me they could not find this document online. They looked for it, couldn't find it. That was a real concern. I've got concerns about, I know these have to be fenced. Who's gonna pay to fence it? Is that something we have to do?
They do not have to be fenced. That was the sheriff's wish for his own security issues. And I assured the sheriff that that would not qualify for the grant.
So every other, all right, so fencing, it does not have to be fenced. Onward, I've got a few other things, but I'm going to say this. I supported the first community solar field in Michigan. And we've learned a lot in 10 years with that solar field. So what brings me to one of my other concerns, and that's, we've already replaced half the inverters on that solar field at $4,000 to $5,000 an inverter. So is maintenance going to be counties then? Does all this maintenance fall on? And
May I comment?
And I see that, if I understood it right, because I got my numbers right from the back of this document, which I know the public would like to see, which was 1.5. I see it looks like 8,000 salary for you, Mr. DeForest, for helping oversee, right? Did I read that right?
No.
No?
No.
Okay, then that might have to be changed.
I'd be happy to clarify when it's my turn.
100, or is that between the two of you? So, all right.
Could you speak to the warranty, because I know you did at Commissioner Rexroad's.
Yes, you first, Commissioner Lautmer, I want to answer all of your questions carefully, but if you'll give them to me one at a time, then I can respond one at a time. With respect to the inverters come with a 10-year warranty. Commissioner Rexroad, I keep inserting a D. Certainly with a deep background in electronics, asked about that. And in the new budget, we have inserted a 20-year warranty for the 6 inverters in this project.
I think we're ready to vote. I don't, is anybody opposed to us? I think we're ready to vote. I think everybody's.
Well, the last comment that I had to make was, if I let me finish up. I think that this, I would like to see a solar application go to help those who truly could use help with. Northport, for example, Northport is really struggling with that septic, the plant up there. Yeah, I hear from people who live up there all the time. It's going up another $200 every so often for them, and they're struggling. In fact, that one young family is moving out. They were just telling me for that reason, and probably will be renting their home.
I'm struggling how this relates. Excuse me. A septic system?
As Mr. Chairman, as I was telling you, that I would just as soon as go for a grant that perhaps would help Northport, that would help those people who are being directly injured with costs every single month on that. You got a windmill, don't even know what to do with it. It's not supplying any energy for you anymore. Direct solar panels on some homes of our Alice people, perhaps. Something other than, than this grant. And that's where I'd rather see it go direct.
I haven't been able to express my view, and mine's real simple. I have a bunch of grandkids and a couple of scientists, one published author in the field of the economics of solar electricity. I take it seriously. I am very thankful for Joe's work and Leelanau Energy's work in revising and listening to us. I trust their attorney's right when he says we have plenty of time to do a legal review. We've got plenty of time to work with the details. I am going to support this. I'm ready to vote on it. So everybody, you.
No, I have a question. Is this grant going in, or is there a modified grant going in?
Yeah, I guess maybe the thing is, what is our motion?
Should I clarify my motion?
Restate your motion reflecting what we said about what was eliminated.
I move that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve the submission of the MPSC Renewable Energy and Electrification Infrastructure Enhancement and Development Grant. It's one change, and that is section B, page 12. Ending that paragraph after reducing energy waste in our facilities, period. And authorize the board chair, Ty Russell, to sign the grant application.
Is that okay with the second?
Yes.
Do you have that, Michelle?
On page 12, where it's part B, and where does it end?
Yeah, I could help with that, or need help with that too. What line number, for instance?
It's the 5th line down.
First paragraph?
Yes.
Okay.
So reducing energy waste in our facilities, period.
Okay.
Well, it's been moved and seconded.
So that's the only sentence you're gonna keep out of B, is that what I'm understanding?
I just keep the stuff above that and eliminate the rest of B. Which goes on to talk about the future, which we don't need to.
So you still keep B, decarbonizing buildings and electrifying transportation?
No. Energy Future Task Force is providing Leelanau County leadership in developing plans and seeking funding for ongoing investments in reducing energy waste in our facilities, period. So you want to get rid of the first sentence.
So that's the only, what you just read is the only part of B you're going to keep. That's what I'm trying to understand. That we all understand.
Well, a broader commitment to generally electrifying and decarbonizing, we're not saying anything specific there, is that?
I think we need to take out all of B, is what you're saying.
I think you need that first part for the grant. And that's very general.
We don't
That's very
by the
general.
sounds of it.
And all the specific stuff follows that. There's nothing specific there. We have an overall goal of improving.
Highlight on my report was.
That'd probably be helpful because I'm still confused on exactly what's in it.
I'd be happy to eliminate the entire first paragraph of B, if that's, would be helpful.
Well, it wouldn't have to be going.
Do we want both?
Maybe you just want to leave in there, starting on the third line down, as described above. The Energy Future Task Force is providing Leelanau County leadership in developing plans and seeking funding for ongoing investments and reducing energy waste in our facility. I think that's what you're trying to say.
Yeah, and then just eliminate the rest.
I understand that. Are we, when we say,
Listening to the first thing you said, I'm sorry, I came in at the end.
I was saying the third line down.
Is what?
as described
Beginning with
above?
As described above. In ending at facility.
Advancing sustainability is offensive to you?
The reason we seek compromise is to get more support. I don't know that there's anything that we're going to do to satisfy the concerns of at least a couple of people. So let's only deal with substantive changes that are essential to getting people on board if they want to get on board.
We can make that work. I need a clarification. That's an amendment to paragraph 1 of that section. Is paragraph 2, as we implement, is that to be deleted in its entirety?
Yes.
Deleted.
Yes.
Okay. I can do that.
Last word under B is going to be the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines to the word facilities, where there will be a period. And then everything, starting with the parent and down to in the future parent is out. Correct. Got it.
I think we need a roll call vote on this, and I think before we vote, we need to remind ourselves that we have plenty of time for a legal review. Michelle?
Commissioner Alguier,
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer,
Yes.
Commissioner Lautner,
No.
Commissioner O'Rourke,
No.
Commissioner Rexroth,
No.
Commissioner Ross,
Yes.
Chairman Wessel,
Yes.
4-3.
Thank you.
Got some homework to do.
I would like to take a 5-minute break. The board has just directed me to sign the application, so that's what I'm going to do.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you for all your work. A whole lot.
Did you see
I'll be glad to work.
Yeah, thank you for
Oh, that's a
Thank you. Thank you all, folks.
Thanks, George.
And if I may add 10 words, I'm only the spokesperson. There was a big team behind this work and they all deserve, whether or not you agree, they deserve the recognition as good citizens trying to do some good in the community.
Pass our thanks along to them, please.
Thank you.
Okay, we are back on our agenda and we're at the
Wow.
senior services millage.
Oh,
I mean, just to clarify, the reason why this is on the agenda as an action item is because it requires a roll call vote. It did receive a 7-0.
Okay, I thought we did this, we just need roll call.
Unless somebody has any questions, we can just go to a roll call vote.
Make the motion.
Yeah.
Are you making the motion, Commissioner On?
Oh, I don't think I've ever made a motion for millage.
Make it a first.
Go for it.
It was probably quite painful, so no, thank you. I'm not making a motion for millage.
Commissioner Ross, you sit on the senior services committee?
No, I don't, but I can.
I do,
Okay.
but I don't know where the motion
It's,
is.
zone. Yeah, what number is that? 2, isn't it?
Page 4.
I made it last week.
Page 4, number 2, I believe.
Yes.
Page 4, number 2. Okay. I move that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve the resolution authorizing millage election for Leelanau County Senior Citizens Services, millage renewal and restoration proposal, and certifying ballot language from Cole, Stoker, and Tossie. This is to appear on the August 6th, 2024 ballot.
support.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Motion by, Kramer,
Yes.
Lautner,
Yes.
O'Rourke,
Yes.
Rexroth,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Wessel,
Yes.
Allgaier,
Yes.
7-0, sorry.
Thanks, Lena.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good evening.
Aye.
Thank you.
We are now down at the emergency management plan, and I think that's just a resolution that we voted on that before, but we need to make a motion to approve the resolution.
Just to clarify, this is a 5-year plan, so that's the several hundred pages was a necessity to complete this document.
Those motions on page 4. Commissioner Retro.
I move that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve Leelanau County Resolution 2024 dash fill in the 3 numbers, Leelanau County Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan adoption as presented.
Support.
Discussion? Would you call the roll, please?
Rexroth,
Yes.
Commissioner Ross,
Yes.
Chairman Wessel,
Yes.
Commissioner Allgaier,
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer,
Yes.
Commissioner Lautner,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Rourke,
Yes.
7-0.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is Commissioner Lautner's FOIA appeal request, and you do have in front of you the FOIA response from the prosecutor that was distributed today. Commissioner Lautner does not have a written appeal, but she's prepared to make the appeal.
Yes, correct. As it's presented, this is a altered request. And For the attorney, it doesn't have to cost that much. She said it should just be a quick search engine. So it would not have to be, it wouldn't have to cost that money, what she said. So what are you looking for a motion I think the motion has to be to waive the costs
On
of the
page,
FOIA appeal. Yep. Okay, actual motion. That's all she said it actually was. It's just to waive those costs, do a search engine and grant the request.
I don't hear a second. We'll go down now to the to number 5, the 2024 rules of order. Can you speak to that, Deb?
Well, actually, I think the clerk did a great job of summarizing them on page number 5. So the two items are the clarification for the items to address the public comment. That would be the first motion.
Commissioner Rush?
I move that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners amend the 2024 Rules of Order and Procedure of the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners regarding public comment as presented. Speakers shall address all comments to the board or committee and not to individual board or committee members, county employees, elected officials, or the audience. No speaker may assign his or her time to another person. Each commissioner represents a district within the county, and she may be individually contacted should greater depth or understanding of an issue be sought. Personal contact is encouraged and helpful to both residents and the board. Public comment at every meeting will be agenda specific for 3 minutes.
And clarification, but I think that was first public.
Yeah, we'll just
Yes,
say
it has
that.
to be
First
first.
public, yes.
Okay, public comment at every meeting, first public comment at every meeting, the agenda specific for 3 minutes.
Is there a second to that motion?
Support.
Oh, okay, let's do this again, okay? The public comment at every meeting will be, that only applies for the first meeting, right?
First public
First
comment.
Public comment.
First is missing there.
That first is missing on that because that came up the other night at the Republican convention.
But I think we amended our motion, so it now says first public comment, right? Is that what Michelle?
You can not prohibit open speech at both. You can only do this at once. So it can be the first or the second. So it's the first.
Yeah.
And that's what you have for this motion,
Yeah.
is the first, right now.
Everybody understand the motion? Anybody want to discuss the motion?
So at the very last, you're allowed 5 minutes, is that correct?
On anything you want.
Everybody's, okay.
Commissioner Lauder?
I think public comment is working right now. I don't see changing it. I think this is a terrible move to make to our public. I think it speaks volumes to, but we don't want to hear from you and you can contact your own commissioner. This is our public's opportunity, these meetings, and if they choose to come, take time out of their day, drive up here, walk here, however they gotta get here, and speak to the Board of Commissioners, they should be allowed to speak, but to tell them that, you know, you have a commissioner representing you, you can talk to them at any time. That goes without saying. So I won't be supporting the change. I think it's working now and I don't think we should be changing it.
Commissioner Kramer?
Sit down.
I'm confused because I don't think we're saying we don't want to hear from the public. We're saying we want to do exactly what we're doing, but just a reminder that you also have a commissioner that you can contact if you want something on the agenda. That's just me. Yes, Commissioner Kramer?
It doesn't say that.
No, and it also feels like the timing is off then, because this came out right after
highly disputed public comment. And I mean, I think everyone gets that. And I feel like it's important that everyone gets their time, and that's what we're here for.
Basically, it's just saying, we had agenda-specific public comment at the executive meeting. We're just saying we're gonna do that for all of our meetings, but at the end, it's 5 minutes and you can say what you want. That hasn't changed. And that was just so we can get to the county's business and the people involved in that business.
Commissioner Rush?
I didn't have any comment.
Commissioner Rexroth?
No comment.
Commissioner Rourke?
No comment.
Commissioner Lautner?
I'll take theirs.
No.
No, you
I know.
can't. So what it says at the beginning of the beginning of the meeting speak only to the agenda. We don't want to hear from you about anything else, only what's on the agenda. But if you want to sit here in for hours, you can speak to whatever. And I object to that. I think that the public coming up here and saying what they have to say, and trust me, for 30 years, I've heard a lot. And I've heard it on all kinds of topics, and there's nothing wrong with that. This is our duty to listen to the public, and I thank them for coming, and I'm not gonna support limiting it more.
Anybody else? Let's vote. All those in support of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion approved 5-2. Thank you. Action item 5B. Commissioner Rush?
I move that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners adopt the Board of Commissioners state commitment to respect as presented. Commissioners agree to the following commissioners' commitments. Number one, recognize the worth of individual members and appreciate their individual talents, perspectives, and contributions. 2, help create an atmosphere of respect and civility where individual members, county staff, and the public are free to express their ideas and work to their full potential. 3, respect the dignity and privacy of individuals and organizations. 4, respect and maintain the nature of confidential and privileged information and opinions acquired as a result of my position. 5, conduct public affairs with honesty, integrity, fairness, and respect for others. 6, avoid and discourage conduct that is divisive or harmful to the best interest of Leelanau County. And 7, keep the common good as the highest purpose and focus on achieving constructive solutions for the public benefit.
Second.
Any discussion? Commissioner Lautner?
Again, much of this just goes without saying. And I think this is all well and good. You know what? There was a whole lot of this last year. And I think it's very interesting that this falls on this table right now. Especially when you talk about the nature of confidential information. So, you know, it goes without saying, as I said last week, this is nothing that we can hold anybody on this board to. It's each of us. It's nothing that can be held to. And I should say it goes without saying, as I said earlier, it just goes without saying. Perception is everything, right? So you can have the perception that you're debating an issue, but what happens when there's no longer respect? You know, you get that, call the question. And I just think that's disrespectful in itself. So I won't be supporting.
Anybody else? Yes, Commissioner Kramer?
I will be supporting, but I'm really hoping that we can lean into this more as a board and just kind of everyone. I don't believe in just passing something to pass it. I think we all, myself included, need to lean into those aspects that we have dictated here and not think that all of us have all the answers all the time. That's it. Moving on.
Anybody else? All those in support of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion approved 6-1. Thank you. We now have item 6, the MLI administrative.
Yes, ma'am. Hard not to get emotional sometimes on all this and the people and friends we know and the board, okay, but sometimes we do raise our voices.
Remember, we're going to
We
number
are on
5C.
6.
No, we're going to 5C.
Thank you. You're keeping us on.
We're gonna do the 2%
Yes.
grant allocation awards.
On page 2, the Grand Traverse Van 2% grant, we have 2 motions we need. The first one is 5C, to accept the awards, and the second is to enter into contractual. Commissioner Elgar?
I move that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners accept the 2% allocation awards from the Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians as follows. Family Court, Child and Family Services, Safe Haven, $5,000. Senior Services, LCN Neighborhood Assistance Ministry, $34,000. Peninsula Housing, $12,009. Solid Waste Council Mattress Recycling, $5,000. Solid Waste Council Tire Recycling, $10,000. Support.
Any discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 7-0. Commissioner Redford.
Yeah.
I move that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners enter into contractual agreements with Safe Haven, Leelanau Christian Neighbors, and Peninsula Housing regarding the allocations awarded by the Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians during their recent 2% grant allocation cycle.
Support.
All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 7-0. We're now on page 6 of Michelle's handout for the MLI search.
Thank you, Michelle.
Commissioner Redford.
I move that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners to accept the agreement with Michigan Leadership Institute and Chet Janik for a fee of $4,500 plus travel expenses to assist in the search for administrator/CFO candidate.
Support.
Commissioner Russ.
Yeah, again, I did not vote for this last week, and I'm not gonna vote for it again. I had a very long conversation with Chet Janik, last week and explained my, vote to him, and I asked him to please give me information that would make me feel more comfortable, saying that he is the right person to lead this search in a position that we've been struggling with since 2021. And he did a very good job of explaining how he would go about processing applications and the whole packet that he proposed to us. But I have heard from constituents and I have heard from county staff that there is some hesitation that he is the right person going forward. So I did my due diligence and I contacted Methodist Northwest and the city of Traverse City, and I got a list of 10 that do not include MLI businesses that do talent searches of this kind. And the only one I instructed Administrator Allen to reach out to Amy Sell, and we did get a proposal on Sunday. So I understand and I respectfully will go along with the majority here that feels very comfortable choosing Chet Janik, but I just want to go on record that this is huge. This is what we've been working for 3 years, almost 3 years. I think it warrants more time, and I've heard that a couple times today, but now we don't need time. So I would like this list that I have forwarded to Administrator Allen to be in somebody's file. And next time we come to a situation where we're looking for an employee, that we go out for bids, find more people that could possibly do a search for us. Again, I have nothing against Chet Janik. I think he'll do a fine job. He did convince me of that on the phone. But again, I'm just following up, and this list is going to be in the administrator's office for next time, because there will be a next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Brigham.
I'm gonna vote for this. I think Chet is uniquely positioned as our former administrator and being with the county for a very long time and addressing our needs and knowing and understanding what they are. However, I am going to keep harping on this organizational structure review I think that we need to do, because I think we need to know how all of these departments function together and find out the crux and the reason that we are having the issues that we have had in the past that continue to happen. I don't think it's just the leadership and finding that one person. If you go through 5 different people for the finance director, and we're having these issues and they keep reoccurring, it's obviously an organizational structure issue. So we have to address that. I even think before we bring on someone else, whether we will or not depends on this board and whether we're gonna actually like attempt to try to fix these issues. Because they're systemic. It's not, I don't believe an individual person, it's a systems problem. So if we can address that, then maybe we could find the right leadership. That's all.
Thank you. Anybody else? Commissioner.
I just think I trust Chet Janet completely, but the bottom line, we're looking at an administrator and a chief financial officer. As Melinda pointed out in one of our discussions, we're looking for a unicorn. You can only do one job well and do it well. You cannot do 2. Okay, so I will go along with you guys, but I'm not, you're not going to find the person. At least if you do, you better open your wallets.
Anybody else? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
I think that was 6.
Should have went with it.
Yes, 6-1. And I did reach out to Chet and I told him that if we supported this motion today, we would ask him to come to the executive committee in March and begin talking to us about position description and timeline, and publications and posting. So we will put that on the March agenda. We are now down to item 7, the South Bar Lake Drain repayment authorization.
Good evening. I believe it's in front of you.
I think actually we received it in the board packet.
Yes.
The email that went out Friday, and it was posted, so it was part of the packet. There was an email from Brian Sensi that was included in the packet, as well as a resolution.
I agree. I printed it tonight and it was attached.
So it was the last 3 pages of your packet, starting with the email from Brian Sensi.
It's South Bar.
South Bar Lake Drain.
Yeah, so the county, you want the county to pay $72,639.36.
Correct. That's the prepayment.
No.
If you choose.
And then we'll bill the road commission and we'll get back.
15,000.
8, we get 50% back.
Oh, 50%.
Of the
from them.
14A.
Oh, I
Right.
see, yep.
And then we subsequently will reimburse the general fund $101,370.02, which we have fronted since the inception of.
Yep, that's out of our pocket.
We have fronted that, right? We have fronted that on this particular drain.
Well, I just have a question.
Yeah.
There's 2 things here. Are you asking for prepayment tonight plus the resolution vote?
Well, can I speak to that or do you want to speak to that?
Go ahead.
Okay, we're asking for the prepayment And then the county road commission, I think we're doing a bit of housekeeping, that they wanted a little more formalized agreement that we would be billing them for their share, because the drain can't assess the road commission. The drain can only assess the county. Am I right?
Right.
So for us to be able to capture the 14A money from the commission, road commission, they want something more formal.
And also John Gallagher requested this.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
So they're looking for a motion, if they wanted, that the county will be prepaying your total assessment of 72,639.36 by Thursday, February 25th. 29th.
29th.
We have to say where the funds are coming from, do we know?
General fund.
So moved.
Who seconded that?
I did.
Steve, I know this is in your purview, to do these, and we really don't have a choice, and you know I object to them. I know, this is a little private road right down on Lake Michigan with homes. I don't know if there's a single one of them worth less than $1 million, and so we're gonna help them out. And, I see by this resolution, do we have to sign this? It's written that each individually sign this resolution.
The resolution is actually requested from John, and you know, I wouldn't be upset if it were rewritten. This was put together by Clark Hill, but it can be formatted in a more a different format that's more familiar with you all and with Michelle. It doesn't have to be signed tonight, but this is something that John Gallagher wanted as we move forward and bill the County Road Commission for 50% of the 14A as per law. So it can be a different format.
That's the only part.
It can be a different format. I'm not.
I can, some counties sign all the resolutions, I think there's some statutes, but I can put the meeting day, put the resolution number, those that voted yes, those that voted opposed, and then certified and sign it, so.
I have no problem with
So if we did not prepay, then we would pay over a period of 10 years. Can you do a guesstimate on how much interest we would pay?
I think we're estimating a 5% fixed term. So I don't have that. I don't have that calculator. in my
I
hand.
know
Budgeted that we just paid it.
when we did committee of the whole and we talked about our capital commitments, we felt we would be prepaying all of our drains because our amount that we fronted is almost, well, it is more than what we're actually going to pay. So to get our general fund reimbursed, I mean, we would get it anyway through the funding, but it's worth it just to pay it.
Yeah, you write a check for this amount
Yeah.
and you get this much back on this
And-
one.
And I know John wanted us to prepay and just get it done.
Anybody else? Okay, we have a motion on the floor. We got the motion. All those in support, it's gotta be a resolution.
No, the resolution's next. This is
Okay.
just a-
All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 7-0. Now we have a resolution. Have a motion?
You have to read the whole thing.
Yeah.
That would be, did you want me to read it to you?
Let's just read the top of
Yeah.
the title of it. It's all in our book, right?
I would make a motion to, I move to Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve Leelanau County Resolution number 2024 a resolution to request that a portion of the county's at-large drain assessment be paid by the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners.
Support. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Lawton was yes. Commissioner O'Rourke?
Yes.
Commissioner Rexrow?
Yes.
Commissioner Ross?
Yes.
Chairman Wessel,
Yes.
Commissioner Alguier,
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer,
Yes.
7-0.
Okay,
Okay.
we are now down to our demo equipment. We're on the first page of the green sheet. And we have two items there. Speak to that.
Sure. So as was mentioned earlier, the proposal from BIS was presented at the executive session, and it was recommended to see if it'd be possible to have demo equipment, and that was basically declined. So we have asked them to quote 2 of the speakers for the back of the room and bring that back for consideration at the March meeting. And then look at if there's any other recommendations that they may have at that time as well.
There's nothing to act on.
Nothing good.
There really isn't.
No, nothing to act on.
Can we put in, are they planning on bringing in the mics? I mean, it might be advantageous for us to, sorry, speaking of microphones, it might be advantageous for us to try the mics.
They actually said they were not interested in doing demos.
Well, that's not very cool. I mean, here's, how can we try it? You know, we gotta take a test drive. Okay. Well, step 1.
So that'll be back on our March agenda.
Yeah, we might not be.
We do have a safety net contract review, and we moved that forward. And you want to speak to that?
Well, I think what was recommended is that the motion, I think that was made at the meeting, was to move forward with a 1-year agreement based on the increase that was stated from safety net, so.
Wasn't there?
Why didn't we?
I thought there was someone's legal was to look at the contract and see if, I thought that was the reason we delayed it, is to have legal review of the existing contract and see, do they actually have the right to do what they did? Because we had figures and things in there that extended out this year and 2 years beyond with a fixed price.
Retro.
Percentage.
Yeah, and I thought, maybe, I thought that was part of our discussion. That's the only reason we moved it forward was for that, I thought.
Me too. And we were ready to accept.
I had reached out to legal previously just to confirm, what the terms of the agreement were. It is through 2027, and, basically legal had also said that the contract right now, I believe, has a 5% increase in per year. This certainly exceeds that. So that is what I know at this time.
Can we reach out to safety net and tell them to be back on our March agenda and we're checking with legal?
I think that was the concern brought up. That's just what I don't know.
Yeah.
We may not have any choice with it.
Right.
Make sure they.
Wasn't part of it that we were changing our part of the agreement? Because we
That was not just.
promoted Leelanau?
No, we had asked them, I think in December, if they would consider decreasing the contract amount to reflect the fact that we don't have the hours that was initially reflected from their contract, and they said they would do that. That was one piece, that was approved, and when we received the contract with that change, that's when they told us that there was also then changes that they had been remiss in increasing their portions of the increase.
So I guess just to put a finer point, but specifically, can they do it? And secondly, one of the biggest concerns is the retroactive part. I mean, usually every contract contains some sort of language that says you have to tell me sometime ahead when you're gonna do things. You can't come in and say, you owe me for the last 3 years different, so.
2 months.
I know it's 2 months,
Yeah.
but I added the length for emphasis, so.
So we won't take action tonight on that. We'll move that forward.
Yeah, there's further questions brought up tonight, so we should also just kind of check into that as well.
Next on the agenda is the Parks and Recreation, and we have 2 commissioners that sit on Parks and Recreation Commission. We have Kama and we have Michelle. And we have the chair of the commission here, but I don't think I think Melinda's here to speak for the commission.
Yeah, so we had moved forward the idea of doing a sole source with Gosling Zubeck to rewrite our parks plan. In the meantime, we found out that this well exceeds what we thought it would. So triple, good point. So we need a 2025, 2020 through 2029 park plan, but we really need to put it out for bid. So I just suggest we work with Gail to write an RFP and place it out for bid for our county bid policy.
I know that's going to put our schedule in jeopardy. The plan is to be done by the end of this year. I doubt we'll be able to get one done if you go out for an RFP and it takes us 2 months to get the information back, get the numbers. When I expect that Gosling will end up being the low bid. And what you've seen from them, that estimate you saw includes items which we do not expect to do. And I will be asking them to change their bid or change their estimate. For an update, after talking to Gail, we do not need to do the full-blown public survey when it's only an update of an existing plan. And that's really what this one's going to be, because when you looked at the conceptual designs for Veronica Valley and for Old Settlers and the items that were in the goals and objectives for the last plan, there's still a number of them outstanding due to lack of funding, which need to get done in the next 5-year plan. So we're not going to change the whole plan. The only one that's getting a new conceptual design is Miles Kimmerly. And that is to rearrange some of the assets there in the park to make them more efficient. To add the pickleball courts that everybody's screaming for. Initially, we would add 4 with a space for 8. So that is the most significant change for the plan for 2025 through 29. And that, of course, would then have to be put into the CIP and all that stuff. So right now, I'm still recommending that we sole source to Gosling.
I had commissioners approach me with concerns about the recommendation, so I don't know that we're ready. Somebody want to make a motion?
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners approve the Parks and Recreation Commission waiver of the bid requirement board policy to contract with Gosling Zubeck Engineering to update and create an editable, non-proprietary version of the 2025-29 Parks and Recreation Plan. Support.
Commissioner Ross and then Commissioner Lutton.
Within that suggested motion is this idea is that we're getting out of this cycle. We I've only been on this commission, on the Parks and Rec for year and a little bit, but we just keep updating the plan and then we never apply for grants, but we spend money for updating the plan. So I really feel we have to bite the bullet this time, go with Gosling, but insist that this plan will then be ours and we will be able to make those modifications as we go forward. Again, I've said before, Leland Township is doing this, it's doable. I mean, it would be great to have somebody in Parks and Rec or in planning that could help us with this, but I think there's a commitment from the commission, maybe I'm misspeaking, but I think it was the agreement of the commission that we really don't want to pay this every 5 years.
Absolutely. That's why I'm saying I want the end product will be an editable version that we own, because right now Gosling has proprietary on the plan. They actually own our plan.
It's ridiculous.
And we can't modify the plan.
Yes, this is $17,920.
That's what I'm saying. That's way too high.
So, but you're just saying you're going to give it to them.
No,
How are you not going to give it to them?
I'm assuming I get your authority, I get your approval to go ahead and then negotiate with them what the real price should be. I want them to take that $4,600 public survey out of it. I want them to reduce the first item he had in there because he's asking for things to be revised that don't need to be revised.
You can't talk like that, you guys, that we can't do that. This has got to go up for bid and then exactly do what you're looking for. We need to own our plan definitely, so we gotta make sure it's how it is written. But we can't approve tonight to go into negotiations with this company.
It's insane. Any other company taking over the work that Gosling Zubek has done has to start from scratch because they can't get it either. So that bid is gonna be more. It's gonna be.
We don't
more.
know that.
We don't require an as-built on anything we have. We don't require to keep plan. When you know, I mean,
They have
to have a,
They have proprietary rights on the document and they produce the document for us, but we don't have an editable version that we can even do anything with. I mean, I'm able to extract all the verbiage out of it because I've already been doing that part of the review. But I can't edit the document. I can't edit the drawings they've got in there. I can't edit anything that's in the document because they have proprietary rights to it.
Commissioner Kramer and then Commissioner Olger.
Just curious, how did we end up in this space?
way before my time.
The last plan was done in 2019. I wasn't here then.
Okay.
And I asked her about that. She does not know how either. So it hasn't even been to legal. I did request to go to legal and
What
find
did
out
we
whether
pay
this is the
initially
case.
for this?
$10,700 for the plan they did for the 2020,
So a
24,
plan that we can't
2024.
have?
The plan that we have, we paid them $10,700 to produce.
Oh, but they want to do it again.
Commissioner Olger.
So have they indicated that they are willing to negotiate towards your end, your state?
We're just gonna remove stuff.
Yeah, essentially, Don Furyk had a conversation with the engineer who's working on the Miles Kimmerly conceptual design. He initially gave Don a really low ball number. And then went back and said, no, we can't do it for that. And then itemized the document that he sent to Don. He didn't even send it to me. Okay, so that's got a bunch of items in it, but that's not been negotiated. That's no discussion's been made with Gosling about what's in there and whether they should do it or not. That's a whole nother topic. That discussion has to be had with Gosling to come up with what they're gonna do for this update.
What's the ramifications of the timeline? I mean, the whole point of not going out for a bid process, which it would be reasonable to assume based on the conversations that Gosling might be the low bidder anyway. But what time ramification, what difficulty, what roadblock does that present if we go out for?
Well, if Gosling has to wait to start doing the update until they know whether they've got the award for they have to prepare a bid and everything else. We are talking at least now 2-3 months down the road.
Gotcha. So what I'm trying to understand is getting it done at date A. What is the ramifications of not getting it done at date A or date, whatever the deadline is? What's the problem with that?
Well, there's the state law that talks about the plans that need to be developed. And they're allowed to accept an update to a plan up to the last day of the existing plan, which is December 31st, 2024. So after that, and the DNR and whatnot cannot accept the plan. They have to actually get a whole new plan. So that's why we're kind of under a time crunch to get done.
So having served on the Parks and Rec Plan Committee for Elmwood Township, I know that one of the main things is if you don't get your plan in on time, you're not eligible for any of the state funding. So that's the biggest consideration, that we would not be eligible for any grant applications if we don't get our application on time.
For
That's
the
the biggest
entire,
concern.
for the entire the plan duration.
I believe for that term.
That's what I guess I was trying to, I mean, just because the state wants it, okay, well.
Yeah.
Commissioner Olger.
Is this what the Parks and Rec Commission agreed to? Is this the resolution that came out of your meeting?
Yes, to apply for a waiver from your 3-bid policy.
Okay, so this is what the Parks and Rec Commission requested.
Yes.
Okay, I will support it because they know what they have been dealing with and they know what their goals are, and I don't feel competent to do a 3-minute review and change their mind.
Well, I,
No, this is not what Parks and Rec agreed to. We agreed to use them and it was going to cost $4,500 and they were gonna update the grant and et cetera. That is what we did. This is way, way outside, way outside. This is not how we can conduct business here and go into side negotiations with them. I think we got so many questions we need to, so many questions we need to clear up. In fact, I did ask this, go to our attorney to make sure this is even the case with our understanding. And as I understand it is, the park plan will be from the date you get it done in 4 or 5 years. So if the very worst we could do is miss 1 year, if a company cannot get it done, but this is only February, and I've got great confidence in if we were to expedite. So my motion was to go out for bid, but I think now we have a motion on the floor already, even though the motion wasn't answered. So I move that we table this until March so we can get more answers.
Support to table it?
I supported it.
I think do we need a 2/3 or a majority, Michelle, for a vote to table?
I didn't bring my cheat sheet.
I brought my cheat sheet here.
A lot of money.
I think it's 2/3.
So I know Gail was here. I spoke with Gail Minor and she was very uncomfortable with this. And I know also, as was true to Gala. So I just think we need to table this, get more answers, look forward.
We really wouldn't have anything to lose by going back to them and seeing what the price would be and coming back and know what we're voting on.
They can do that. Fine, they can go ahead and do that.
It's to update the current and add the new plan content is estimated $9,520. We are removing community survey, we're removing draft plan, we're removing the MDR plan, so we're down to $9,500.
Right.
It's a majority vote, motion on the floor to table. All those in support of the motion to table, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion to table approved 5-2. Charlie, would you?
I'm not sure what questions I'm trying to answer yet, so somebody's gonna have to tell me what those questions are.
And without solid leadership, it's gonna falter.
Well,
I mean,
I think what I heard
not
is
as
we
Charlie, but as.
want real numbers.
Mhm.
We want to know what it would cost. And so we need you to come back with a figure from Gosling. And if it's close to be 5,000 less or less than that,
Okay.
then we'll entertain it. Otherwise, we'll decide if we want to waive our bid rules. Mr. Kramer?
I'd just like to hear from Trudy and some other people and just get a little bit more background information and be, feel like I have the whole situation under my belt, which I don't right now.
Okay, I mean, I don't know this for certain. In 2019, planning department was not part of the process for coming up with the current plan. We've just now gotten into where planning is our support staff. So I don't know who actually was involved with doing that at the time.
I have been informed that our rules of order say we are moving on. We have a table, so we need to move on. I would ask you, Charlie, to get with our administrator and she'll help you decide next step.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. We are now, thanks, Michelle. Michelle, thank you for keeping us on it. We are now down to through the agenda?
Checking, I think we're-
That was the last one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do that.
I'm up.
We are now at the part in our agenda where we ask questions of Kathy. Any questions about finances? Or review of finances?
We have finances, correct?
I have finances. Just a few lates, and I put those in hard copy. I sent you an email this afternoon. Nothing exciting there. This is where we clean up 23. We're trying to close 23 down. We might have a straggler or two, but we're getting to the end. Okay,
And thank you, Kathy, for answering my questions earlier.
sure. Yeah, anytime you can even just text me and just say, hey, what about this? What about that? And look it up for you real quick.
You sent us out late ones today.
Yes, yes.
Sometimes you send out late.
I hope I never have to do that. Three lates
Okay,
is too late.
thank you.
Okay.
We are now at committee reports. Anybody have a committee report? Commissioner Ross?
Yes, I'd just like to report that this afternoon at 3 o'clock at the Money Room and at Leland Library, we had 30 plus people in the room to hear about the electric grid and how it works. Frank Sucker from Cherryland Electric did an amazing job at helping us understand how complex getting safe, reliable, consistent electrical, how inexpensive it is. He answered literally probably 100 questions and did it well. And again, it was part of the Energy Task Force responsibility on the education and energy efficiency, and it was our thing to do. And we're doing another one in March, another one in April, another one in May, and then another one in July. Just educational opportunities for people to learn more about what energy looks like or could look like in Leelanau County. And I encourage you guys, I'll keep you posted for the next one. That's great.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, we were really happy to send Frank to that. That was a brain child of Tom Van Pelt, and I thought it was a good one. Frank does a phenomenal job. It's still good.
Thank you. We now are at special reports. Any special reports by clerk or commissioners?
Had 103 voters so far, they're really voting.
And how did that feel? I mean, like, did that feel like what you expected? Or?
It's far more than what I expected. It's going very good. I can't think Saturday, Sunday. We're only on day 4. We'll be done Sunday at 5. And so it's going smoothly. And it's just people stopping in to vote.
I was your first customer this morning.
Were you?
Yeah.
Very good.
Can I ask why are people, do you get a sense of why they're using this?
No, we don't ask them. Some of them
You don't?
just want to try because they were, it was available. We had people even before we opened last week stopping by that were leaving town that didn't maybe want to do an absentee ballot. They wanted to just put their ballot through, and some people also brought their absentee ballot here too, so they could put it through themselves. Maybe they couldn't go on election day, and some just, I don't know why. So once we get done with this cycle, we'll do it again for August primary and then November. So.
Do you have a request for us about what to do at the end of this meeting to prepare for you for tomorrow?
Apparently the maintenance staff will be in, so they said they'll take care of it.
Okay, okay, thank you. Any other special reports? Then we are at our second public comment. You have up to 5 minutes and you may talk to us about anything that you would like to. Yeah, Pete. And then Renee.
Keith Ashley, Leland Township. Interesting sitting in the audience and listening to this long debate on this grant application. And what I got from it after it was all said and done, with a vote of 4-3 to save taxpayers $1 million. 3 no votes, I think basically based on the word environmental justice and electric vehicles. The realities are
the police chief will be driving the electric police car in 25 years, whether he likes it or not. The manufacturers are not going to be producing combustion engines 25 years from now. That hurts my heart. I love a combustion engine, but fortunately I'm old enough, I'll never drive an electric car either, so that works out. The no bid contract for Mr. Janik to find a new administrator, CFO, strikes me kind of odd and kind of bad, especially when the subsequent conversation was to have a bid contract for this park business that you're talking about. With 10 local firms that can do searches, I think it behooves you to find out just how much does a search cost. You know, for him to say $4,500, that's fine, that's his fee. But how much would it cost you to have a search? What would you get from 10 other companies? And I'm sure each one of them, if you went to them, said, we'd like you to quote finding a new CFO administrator. You'd have a page that says, we'll do this. You'll have a page that says, we'll do something else. From those pages, you can then pick what you think is the best approach. So I think it's a bad decision to do that without a bid contest between the ones that are available. The cash drawer, I think, remains open, bleeding taxpayers' dollars in this process. The decision 3 years ago by the previous board with no planning for this reorganization, my understanding has cost in excess of $250,000. And I don't think those dollars have stopped rolling yet. And it sounds to me like you still don't really have a plan. Where does it end? When do the taxpayers get the satisfaction that we really know what we're going to do and how we're going to do it? And to lose the administrator, Allen, I think is a loss to the county. And it's an embarrassment. The previous financial officers, the loss of them is an embarrassment to the county. And the study that you paid a lot of money for to find out what's wrong within this building, you know, it's going to be a challenge, I think, to find out how do you fix those things. And, you know, I don't know Mr. Janik at all. I've seen him here and I think, you know, he seems to have done a good job. But particularly now with the situation within this building, I think it behooves you to go outside of anybody who has worked in this building, particularly at that level, and hire a search firm right fresh from the go. Let them come in here and figure out what it is you're looking for and let them go about it. And break all the bonds with the past, because it seems like, you know, that's been done unfortunately, and it's cost us a lot of money and it's cost you all, I know, a lot of grief. And I just think you're going in the wrong direction, that there are financial people that are financial people, and I don't think myself that they have to be the administrator as well. I think you're gonna find yourself up with a challenge, and just the history that these jobs come and go. You'll not only be looking for this next administrator, CFO, you'll be looking for the replacement for that person as well, unless you get things under control in this building.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lavin.
I would like to address what he just said. Chet Janik. This morning, the Patriots had a visit from a new person who would like to be a member of the Patriots. He was a federal agent with the DOJ. He was on his resume, he was a warden. So I guess he would have had some administrative experience, and he applied for the county administrator's job in 2020. And his application was never, I guess, even looked at by Chet Janik. So he wanted to know why the Record Eagle reported that there were no applicants that applied. So we had a DOJ guy that moved here and wants to be involved in our local government, and he was overlooked. And that's very depressing. How many other applicants have not even been, their applications have not even been looked at. I still have the guy's name. I don't know if he's interested. But with someone with that kind of experience, I think we really need to take a look at the whole process of Chet Janik. On another matter, the $72,000 for repairing a private road, that's very objectionable to me, because I used to live on a private road and we had to do everything. All the neighbors had to come together and pave it and do, any kind of drainage. That was on us. So why are we using taxpayer dollars to repair a private road? And that's all I'm going to say about that. Now I want to know about, I had asked my commissioner, you say, ask your commissioner. We wait here 4 or 5 hours at any meeting to have our public comment so we can have our First Amendment right. But we have to wait 4 or 5 hours. These people would like to be home eating dinner or something, but we can't do that because you're restricting our First Amendment rights. And that's problematic. What happened tonight with the Green Energy Task Force? I'm very disappointed with that situation because Commissioner Wessel told us, the Patriots, that we could have 2 positions on that committee. You promised us 2 positions. Did you not? When Commissioner Lautner asked to be on the committee, she was able to get on there. But what we have here is a Green Energy Commission with only a few of very select group of individuals get to be heard. We and the Patriots don't get any say in that. And I object to that. You promised me, Chairman Wessel, that we would be able to have 2 of our members on that. And if we had, we would be objecting to our constitutional sheriff and his concerns about security with this whole solar project. And lastly, I asked for my commissioner to let me know how much your bond deductibles are. Each one of you has a bond through the Michigan Municipal Risk Management Authority. So if you are derelict in your duties, or if you do something that puts us in a financial bind, perhaps, we have the ability, as we the people, to file a claim against your bond. Okay, I asked Chet Janik years ago, how does this work? He doesn't know, he ignores me. I asked Deborah Allen about this, and I actually sent her a letter in July. I've still not heard from her. Okay, we're still concerned about the timestamp alterations of the Raymond invoices, and I've asked the prosecutor's office to look into that as a criminal matter, because we can't have our invoices being altered. There's no reason for an invoice to be altered. When it comes in, it's accounting 101. You put the timestamp on it as the date it comes in, but that's not what's happening. We have whistleblowers coming forward that say, okay.
Any other public comment? Yes, Jim.
Kind of follow up to last week. I just wonder what you guys thought, not that you're going to answer, but I'm just wondering what you actually thought of that presentation, the ones that were here and watched it, or were here for some of it. Wonder what you thought about the professors. I have a dozen computer science professors that all were claiming the same similar thing, the vulnerabilities, and what some of them have actually done with the software and voting machines. It's not really just restricted to voting machines. You got to understand software. You go from a physical realm to a digital realm. I brought that up at the beginning of that presentation too, because I believe, and I could dog it out and probably dig it out, but I think that's a prerequisite for a legal and valid election process, is maintaining a chain of custody. And you don't have that when it goes into the digital realm and it's scanned and it's being computed, and it's being decided by somebody who you don't know and you don't understand the language. That doesn't excuse you that you don't understand it, the language. Most of us don't. But when it goes into that realm, you lose any chain of custody. It's not physically there to trace. There's no transparency. That was a point I made at the very beginning. But getting back to the computer scientists that all had the same feeling about it. And the second part of that, I'll try, hopefully won't go my 5 minutes here, but the bureaucrats from multiple areas that were just swearing up and down that there was no internet connectivity. That was a common march tune from 2016 right on through to 2021. Even heard it here locally a lot. No internet connectivity. And then even the director of CISA, Cyber Infrastructure Security Administration, the former one, Chris Krebs, swore up and down until he had to walk it back when Ron Johnson of Wisconsin kept telling him, but we're updated during the election. How do we get this on ABC, NBC, CBS, whatever? How do they get the updates? Well, obviously, they have access to what's going on and the votes being tabulated. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that. But then going into the people that were actually elected, like you, the politicians, not put you in that bracket, but you're elected by the people, okay, who are swear that this was done here in Georgia and this was done here and this one done. Should even have a former Secretary of State detailing what she heard from Silicon Valley about what they said they were going to do for the next election. This was in 2019. What the next election, what you could see is actually servers being stopped, the process being stopped, interference coming here and there. Amazing how nice crystal ball that she had, because it kind of went exactly that way. Not to mention our vice president, who literally had people come in to her hearing and who in front of her hacked the machine, showed them how vulnerable that software is, and in front of that committee hacked the machine. So the idea of it's not possible is blown right out of the water. In fact, even the current CISA director said that. That's why we're elevated to a national cyber alert status now. People are running around like chicken with their heads cut because they don't know. You can't, how do you protect this? How do you know it's to be protected? Why did I show you that video at the beginning? Is because it's a reality. Okay, I'm not bright enough to understand it. None of us here are. But I am, I think, intelligent enough to be able to see enough dots hit in the same area enough times to start filling in a picture of what's going on. This is serious stuff. It puts you guys where you're at. Wouldn't you like to know whether it's a legit or not, or whether there was any fudging going on? You don't have to believe me. Let's move on to the next one. So we had the scientists, we had the professors. We had the ones saying there's no internet. Now we have the politicians all saying they've witnessed it. They're whistleblowers. That's not even including the top dogs, well, not top dogs, but CIA whistleblower, Navid Kashvarez, I believe, who actually outlined in detail what they did. I don't want to go into detail about it. You all heard it that we're here. This guy's done it. But guess who wrote that stuff? Who set the wheels in motion? And it wasn't the first guy who wrote the first rigging program. It was Dennis Montgomery. His company, Capitalism. He had a company that could do this stuff, and we hired him as a government. We want the best stuff in the world, but where are we now? I'm going to end this real quick. I was born in the Cold War was on. I'm lived now to see the tech wars going, because now we're trying to outdo ourselves with computers. When that video told you that one guy said, you want to get out of this?
Thank you,
Remove the technology.
Thank you.
We're in another war.
Other public comments? Yes, Mr. Bukowski.
Good evening again. First of all, I'd like to say that I agree with Mr. Ashley's statement, mostly the one that we should have had a totally independent, arm's length search firm. We cannot release ourselves from the past. We want to stay attached to it. We have had an hour and 20 minutes of government by insanity. That discussion about the energy should have been held in a special meeting, not at this meeting tonight. And also, we have sensed here there are a few people that may run for office that want to run on a platform to eliminate public comment. They want to restrict it now, and they'll find a way when they elect to do some more. The tax situation on the energy thing, we are being told there's a tax credit that's being applied. Well, if a tax credit is given to the county, then I don't know where the tax money for that tax credit comes from. It obviously cannot come from other taxpayers, right? We have 3 Michigan MPSC members. I'm sure they're so omniscient and omnipotent, they know exactly what we need here, and everything we're going to send them is going to be passed by them to be accepted. Because all they're doing is doling out billions of dollars. And we are pleased and we're ecstatic about the fact that if we don't waste the grant money, somebody else will. So we wanna try and waste it. We'll do our best at it. Another matter, a recent meeting with Shelby Steele and his son talked about you can't find your innocence by hating others. So much of our politics and culture really come out of this struggle with innocence. Wokeness is nothing more or less than this struggle for innocence. A way to be innocent and therefore to have power. This leads to dark things. Shelby Steele observed the left claims its politics have more innocence than yours. And on that basis, they seek power over others. Evil is everywhere, waiting around the corner. Advocating for itself as a moral convenience that will make you a better person. So, as on May 11th, 2021, some of us in public office became a cheerleader for evil to attack the clerk and pass this motion, which Mr. Ashley talked about, and I agree with. Thank you.
Thank you. Phil. And then you, sir.
One person, one ballot, one vote, one day. Bill Wiesner, Elmwood Township. Sorry. The reason that was in the Constitution, like election day, when you have 9 days of early voting, what's that do to the chain of custody? Poll books, they're tracking all that stuff. Who voted? Then they know who didn't vote, and they can make some people vote, maybe. The names anyway, especially with mail-in ballots. And when you heard Jim just review the elections and the security breaches, and somebody brought up tonight that, they've looked at all this and there's no real evidence of computer-generated fraud. Well, what he mentioned too, 2016 to 2020, over and over, Hillary Clinton, Kamala Harris, 20 others. This happened to be Democrats, were very concerned then. So would some of the people speaking here or anywhere, commissioners, explain to us what happened in the meantime? What changed? And I think we all know what changed, and maybe that's why they're quiet. And Ty mentioned to me, and it is a late night for all of us, we're all paying our dues. But he mentioned, you're really paying your dues tonight. And I said, yeah. But it goes the other way too. The commissioners, you didn't take this job to make money, to get rich, right? You want to push forward your ideas. So maybe it's good that you can pay some dues and allow the public to come and express their ideas. And it doesn't have to be just on this little agenda. Our time has been cut in half. I started coming 2 years, this is the end of February. I started in March 2022, coming to pretty much every meeting and speaking at every, I'd come for 5 minutes for like quite a while, I don't know, months. And just I'd listen through chat, and then the rest of it, you know, everybody's busy, I'd leave. I didn't stay for the second comment. And then they said, no, we're gonna lower it. So it's down to 3 minutes at the beginning. 3 minutes. Okay, I did that. But then I stayed for the meeting. From then on, it's like, okay, I'm staying for the full meeting. Instead of 5 minutes, I'll get 8 minutes. I'm paying my dues. I'm willing to invest that much time because this is so important, the election integrity. And then after that, 3 minutes, but and what have we been talking about? The elections. Some people don't want to hear about the elections, but this isn't going away. It's like Pharaoh. We've got slave masters saying now, because you've got us upset on this issue, you're not only going to make those blocks, but you're going to make them, you're going to have to get your own straw to make them. We're not going to serve the straw. They cut it down to 3 minutes agenda only. And now this last move, not only the executive meeting, but the regular meeting, the special meetings, the full committee meetings. No. You got to speak on the agenda. Nothing else is important to us. Well, and you have to get on to the people's business because this is taking too much of your time. Well, the people's business, we're coming with the people's business. 21 counties, I've looked at them. I don't have the thing here, but 21 counties from Otsego going straight across the street to the bridge. There's 21 counties there. And 5 of them, now Leelanau included, you got to speak on the agenda or you don't speak the first meeting. Over 75% of them say, no, we'll still allow free speech. Let them speak. We're in the minority there. And Chet talked about building trust, working together, and looking at all the info. Some of the commissioners say, I didn't get all the info. Well, and you know, it's important to have all the info. I offered we had 30 DVDs, Let My People Go movie, and 2 of the commissioners didn't take it. Said, no, we're not going to look at that. That's not developing trust.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Yes. Suppose on the last one. Steve Thompson from Leelanau Township. There's been a lot of discussion about the cost savings of the solar panels, and the $1 million is a wonderful figure to hear, and certainly money that we need in this county to help with our tax base. But there have been several inaccuracies in the presentations that have been made, and I'm just wondering if there's any teeth behind this $1 million cost savings. It's very easy to say, we're going to save you $1 million over the course of 20 years, but where's the proof?
Where's the backup? Is there anything that's gonna back that up contractually that ensures that we get that money? Because there's gonna be a big outlay of money, it's gonna cost money. The maintenance issues still, in my mind, haven't been fully resolved. That could cost a lot of money to this county. So those things need to be considered. That's my point. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Any commissioner comment? Just
Just wondering, we hear your concerns about the voting machines and the black boxes. My thought is there's a lot of time and energy and effort being expended on this topic. Code is a language. And if you become proficient in code, you may be able to learn and understand a little bit more. I'm not claiming I do. I have a tech co-founder in my business that I work with. I do work with the tech community. There are ways that you guys could actually find out legitimate answers to these questions, and they're tech related. So I don't have an answer, but I would start down that path and find cold hard truths as opposed to just rhetoric, which I'm hearing a lot of rhetoric, a lot of talking, a lot of, you know, you have people that are saying things, and I understand that these are reputable people and you understand and you trust their reputation, but code can be learned, and that I would like to see someone who's proficient in the language, speaks the language, and then that would be truth. And I think that maybe that's an avenue you should pursue, because I would really like to see that.
I'm out of turn, but they don't allow it in the state.
Please,
If you do anything about our elections,
sir. Any other?
it's not
commissioner?
allowed. It's prohibited.
Yes,
It's
Commissioner.
proprietary. You're not gonna know.
Jim, please.
I just want to say about the solar panels tonight. When people found out that I was against the Veterans Memorial down there, and I didn't want Chinese panels across from the people on that wall. A lot of people didn't understand why, and some of them still don't, okay, and I can appreciate that, okay? But I'm real glad to see that they were moved away from there. I just wish that it wasn't pushed on us so much and so crowded that we could have made better decisions and made better friends. Okay, I didn't want to upset anybody on this board. But things need to slow down and do it one step at a time. Tonight was kind of a cluster.
Thank you. Anybody else? Commissioner Unger.
We had 34 letters of support for the solar grant application, which was very heartening, and I want to thank anyone who may be listening or anyone who sent a letter of support. We do have a lot of people who are encouraged by our continuing to step into the future. Again, this is an application. We had 60 days, they had 60 days to submit an application. We still can make small changes. The important thing is, if we had not submitted the application, opportunity absolutely gone. So I am glad that our county was willing to step out create an opportunity to bring in $1 million worth of infrastructure here that will pay $3,500 a month in energy costs. That's the estimate based on the energy that can be produced and energy costs, actual energy bills and costs that were generated in researching what needed to go into this application, so it's not a guess. I'd also like to make one more comment about our committees. I've only been a commissioner for 3 years, but I sat in the audience like you guys did for 10 years, and I came to meetings where commissioners were making committee appointments. I've never observed that we make political appointments. That's just not what we do, and I'm proud of that. We put people on committees who are interested in those areas, who have expertise, if possible. We never ask people to vote a certain way. We ask them to use their judgment, and we trust our citizens. But our committees are full of people who are interested in the goals of a committee and providing true worth and gifting us with their expertise. And I would sure hope that never changes.
Any other commissioner comments? I have two. One, I want to respond to the, no commissioner here, nor the chair, nor the administrator can guarantee anybody any seats on a committee. The only guarantee we can make is you have the right to apply. And that's the commitment made. Second thing is, I understand the concern that Bill expressed about limiting the public comment. We did it because we also have a lot of work to do, and we'll stay as late as necessary to listen to the public, but we gotta have time to do our work too. Thank you. Motion adjourned?
No.
We have, I've got approval.
Oh, we do.
Well, I'd like to say that.
Just to wait for us.
Let me do my job.
Is it the late or the late?
We approve it all. Make motions.
Yes, well, yes, but I got a Fisher comment. I really wish that I could believe what I just heard, but I just cannot, because I've seen too much in the last year when it comes to appointment. So I would move to approve amendment number 24-002.
Support.
All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
I would move to approve claims and accounts, $556,994.78.
Support.
All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 7-0.
I move to approve post audit, $2,498,158.54.
Support.
All those in support say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 7-0.
Motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned.
I've been waiting.
If anyone would like to watch that movie that we've given to all the clerks and all the commissioners and officers and the 2 judges and the prosecuting attorney,